Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the KSAM Sports Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Carlos Zimmerman, and we're going to do something a little bit different this week. Jordan gets the week off. He's still across the table from us over here producing it for today. But joining us here for two of our part-time staff here at KSAM and The Lake, as well as the hosts of Behind the Mic on 90.5 KSHU, 3 to 5 p.m. on Wednesday afternoons on the student radio station. Joining us, Luke Scott, the voice of Hornet basketball, and the voice of Lady Hornets basketball and Hornet baseball, Colin Neal, as well. Welcome, guys.
Thank you for having us, Carlos. We really appreciate the time.
Absolutely.
Pay me after, okay?
Okay. I know. I still owe you money from driving to Houston last week. But
it was a great drive.
You insisted on driving, so
yeah.
I let you have it. So anyway, looking at today's episode, we'll talk Bearcats coming up here right now. We'll also talk about Huntsville Hornet football as they take on Lamar Consolidated tomorrow. And then, of course, we'll take a look at the playoff race in Major League Baseball and a look ahead to the NFL games that are coming up this weekend. First, we'll talk Bearcats, and, well, what else is there to say other than that, man, that one hurt a good bit last night against Jacksonville State. A 35-28 loss for the Bearcats after leading 21-7 at one point in the ball game. A lot of positives to take away from the ball game. It's just a lot of cases of what could have been.
Yeah, I mean, you get off to a great start. You're into halftime, 21-7 game, and you're thinking, wow, like we got a really good chance. Offense is playing well. Defense is holding up really well. Jacksonville State, really the only time they could get anything going was on that hurry-up offense, and they get a little momentum. But in the first half, Sam Houston did a really good job shutting them down. But, man, after that, halftime came out flat. You can see Jacksonville State. Crowd got into a bit of it. And I mean, credit to them. Good base for them. Traveled in. Of course, a lot of guys from this area play for them. But good game. Just ran out of horses there at the end. Ran out of steam. And a lack of adjustments at halftime really was the deciding factor in the game.
You talk about how quickly they were going. I mean, it was pretty evident that was a good strategy going into the game. It was their first score, Jacksonville State. Malik Jackson, 4 plays, 86 yards in 51 seconds. Malik Jackson ended it with a 26-yard touchdown run. But then how the Bearcats responded after that, it made me feel pretty good. You went down the field, 4 plays, 75 yards, 1 minute, 37 seconds. Keegan Shoemaker, touchdown pass to John Gentry, who started the game with Zach Urbacek, the starter, out for that game, and who knows however long he is out for the rest of the season. Hopefully he comes back pretty soon because we still need him if we want to win some ball games. And then we responded again with another touchdown. Keegan Shoemaker to Noah Smith, 22 yards, and then good old Trapper Panel, reliable as ever when you're inside 10 yards, getting it done. It's just when the second half started, gears shifted.
And I feel like the biggest thing was the tempo slowed down. Like, you're up 21-7 at the halftime break. You go into the locker room. I mean, you talk about adjustments being made in the halftime. Yeah, I think really the big adjustment was being able to slow down Jacksonville State when they got up tempo. They kept the same tempo the rest of the way the Gamecocks did. The Bearcats slowed down to open the second half. So I was intrigued as to why they did that. And that's why they weren't able to score until the last 4 minutes of the fourth quarter, albeit made it a really interesting ball game, going up 8 in the final few minutes, left a 1:11 on the clock for Jacksonville State. That's less than a 2-minute drill when you think about it, but
no timeouts.
No timeouts either. So you got to give credit to Jacksonville State. I mean, being able to march the ball down the field, 75 yards in 58 seconds, it's impressive, but the big thing for me when I went back and looked at the broadcast of that last drive for Jacksonville State, man, on that throw to Perry Carter, you make an open field tackle. Granted, the clock stops for a moment because it's a first down, so they wait for the ball to get placed, but then they have to run a play really quick to try and score. You have more of a chance to make another stop. Instead, you blow the coverage, and they get in for 6, and they're able to convert it on the 2-point conversion as well, which that even took a little bit more time for it to materialize until receivers got open. So I think I credit that last drive to that, It would be easy to say that the defense was gassed, but Sam Houston dominated the time of possession last night, 42-17, which is almost unheard of nowadays. But
I mean, especially in that last drive, Sam Houston, it was first down, second down, third down, and 4. Finally scored on the fourth down. We took out like 3-4 minutes just within like 20 yards, and the defense was rested. It was just, I think it was just bad defense. It was bad prevent defense. They took the foot off the gas. They played not to lose instead of play to win. and they got caught in the crossfire there. Jacksonville State, Logan Smothers, the quarterback, ran the ball well all night, passed the ball pretty efficiently, 3 touchdowns, no picks. I mean, it was just a really good game by Jacksonville State to come in to Bowers, which Bowers has been one of the best in the nation when it just comes to home record for Sam Houston. We're always really good at home. They came in there and they took it from us.
And it was also the penalties.
Yeah,
they've been an issue, and they did all right in the first half, and then just those 2 15-yard penalties, just like last week at U of H, that killed a really good drive. Granted, it wasn't a 1st and 30, just like at U of H, but that's where you got to stay disciplined. You have to. You can't be doing that. You can't be pushing people off the pile. You can't be pulling people off the pile. You can't be headbutting anybody or whatever went down there. I've heard many things about what happened, but me and you saw it from the press box. That was a really good drive. They were starting to get deep into Gamecock territory. Even if they pad on a field goal or a touchdown, it would have put that game out of reach because it would force Jacksonville State to have to go to the passing game more often. And like you said, Luke, that was just very bad prevent defense at the end.
It's bad coaching. That's what it is. When you talk about penalties, it's discipline. That's coaching. That's who it's got to go into. Casey Keeler, for the past few years, since I've been at Sam Houston, even a little bit before that, Sam Houston's been a pretty good team when it comes to penalties. Last year and this year, it's been brutal. The game's on the line, right? You get the ball back with, 6 seconds left to go, 11 seconds left to go, whatever it was.
A great return.
An awesome return. And you're set up in near field goal position. You get 6 seconds to run a play, a quick out route, 5 yards, 6 routes, get you outside, stop the clock. No, what happens? Delay of game. That's Bush League. That's middle school. That's middle school things that happen. That should not be happening at a Division I university on national television.
I know they made the argument that they never reset the play clock, but at the same time, they needed to move with a little bit more sense of urgency. Yeah. I don't know why it took so long to materialize a play. You said it best. 5 to 7 yard out route, it gives Colby Sessoms a shot. I know he missed a 52-yard try earlier on in the ball game, but at least you give your kicker a chance to win the ball game with about maybe 2 or even 1 second remaining left in the ball game. So, but instead you go to overtime. You do the traditional thing. You take defense first, so you know what you're going to be up against. And well, the way Jacksonville State was moving the ball at the end of that quarter and then into overtime, you knew that they were going to be really chomping at the bit to get that score, and they did it in 2 plays just like that. The Bearcats just had no answer, and unfortunately the Bearcats fall 35-28 in the conference opener. I'll give credit to Jacksonville State. They played a really, really good ball game. Logan Smothers started the night 3 for 12 in the ball game. Not very efficient at all.
He picked it up, though.
He did. Because after that, he went 13 for 16 the rest of the ball game. 3 touchdowns, as you said, Luke. Flip that to the side for the Bearcats. Keegan Shoemaker, his best game of the year, obviously, with the 2 struggling games against BYU and Air Force. 22 for 38, 285 yards, 2 touchdowns. That pick was pretty bad, but still, it was. I don't think you can hedge a lot of the loss on Keegan. It really starts with the guys up front. The offensive line committed 4 of the 8 penalties that were accepted by Jacksonville State last night. You got to clean that play up with the guys up front.
It's penalties in the run blocking. This is the first game that Keegan's had some pretty good time in the pocket to make some passes and go through his progressions. The run was awful. John Gentry, stat sheet, 98 yards, touchdown, or receiving touchdown, looked good, but it's just over 3 yards on average a carry. Yeah. That's awful. That's awful. You're not going to win any games doing that.
Gentry looks good. Whenever he gets out in open space, he can really run through anybody, it seems like, and he did it a couple times at U of H after Bocek went down.
When does he get space, though?
Yeah, that's the problem. It's
2 times a quarter, maybe?
Yeah, and he's a decent runner, too, especially on that touchdown that he got to begin, that opened up the scoring for the Bearcats. I give credit to Keegan. I thought he had a really good game up until that interception. Whatever. It is what it is. You just have to move on. I think the play calling was just not where it should be. We took our foot off the gas pedal. We should have kept on going. In my opinion, you can start playing conservative if you are up by more than at least 4 scores. It was 21-7 heading into halftime. They just need 2 touchdowns and 2 extra points to tie it. And granted, they did get it. Then the kicker for Jack State missed that extra point, which, by the way, a lot of stuff happened in that ball game. Like
College kickers suck. That's just one of those things.
National TV and heck, heading into overtime, first time I've seen this in history, and a referee has to redo a coin toss.
Well,
because
it happened in the NFL once where the coin never did flip, and the players pointed out. But at least the referee that was the head referee for the game last night, he had the wherewithal to admit, yeah, I need to do that again because the coin never flipped. And yeah, the doink extra point, like. And I'll say this because we talked about it in the booth afterwards, after it had happened when we went to break. I had this weird thought come across my mind in my head. I was like, what if he misses this extra point? I never said it out loud. Probably should have now. That way I would have called it. But boinks it off the left upright. I mean, how do you hook that sucker and you put your team in a really tough spot? Because ultimately it made a difference at the end of the ball game.
Did.
Instead of tying the game on that touchdown and the point after try, they had to go for 2. Ended up working out for Jacksonville State in the grand scheme of things, but it's those kind of things. Brian Adams said it on the call last night. Extra points are important. Every single little point, down to the very tiny details, is important in a ball game like that, especially at the FBS level.
Special teams might not win games for you, but it can definitely lose games for you. In that case, it came close. It didn't, but it came close.
Almost potentially won us the game at the end with that great return.
Yeah.
Yes, it did. And before we transition to what's coming up for the Bearcats, I do want to highlight one of our players of the game from last night, Trevor Williams. He just continues to be so impressive.
He's a beast.
He's a dog.
He going into the ball game, he had, I believe, 38 total tackles going into the ball game. 24 of those he did on his own. Last night, 10 tackles with a tackle for loss, and he did it all by himself.
Yeah. I mean,
this guy's going to be playing on Sundays.
He might be. The only thing that goes against him is just his size. But he makes up for it. He's fast, he's physical, and he has a low center of gravity, which helps him, right?
Mm-hmm.
You see that all the time in the NFL. Those type of guys. He's a really good player, and there's a reason he's on all those award watch lists. He's going to be a Conference USA all-team player, first team most likely. Love it.
No doubt. No doubt in my mind.
Reese's Senior Bowl watch list.
Yes,
as
he is.
well.
Yeah.
And one thing I really like about Trevor Williams is that he's just consistent. If he doesn't show up on the stat sheet, he is going to be around the pile wherever the runner gets tackled, the ball carrier gets tackled, wherever the play is happening, he's always going to be there. I mean, and he has that motivation. And you and I, Luke, have talked about the walk-on motivation. Again, he was a walk-on. He literally went from walk-on to being on the Senior Bowl watch
Station.
list.
Yep, he's an A&M Consolidated product.
Like, it is just an amazing story, and I really hope, as you say, that he will be playing on Sundays. But as of now, he's going to lead this Bearcat defense as best as he can before his time is up here at Sam Houston. And it's just, I mean, when defenses, I'm pretty sure, have Trevor Williams' number circled a bunch of times. Stay away from this guy.
And he's got a lot of good cast of characters around him. I mean, Kavian Gaither is going to be probably the one that really fills his role going forward as one of those top linebackers. And we saw it last night. Meatball Smith, he had a huge play to really change the momentum for the Bearcats. And Javon Leon landing on that ball as well. But the big question is, can the secondary clean some of their play up? They ever since really the not even so much the Air Force, the Houston game is where some of the cracks in the system started showing. So that's the adjustments they need to make, because next week they're going on the road to Lynchburg, Virginia, in a tough atmosphere, taking on a currently undefeated Liberty Flames team that has had already a good amount of success at the FBS level as an independent, now having a conference to call home. That game's coming up next week. What do the Bearcats have to do? I mean, you're 0-4. This is obviously one of the worst starts in program history. Prior to the game last night, it was their worst start since 1997, the last time the Bearcats went 0-3. What do they got to do to right the ship?
Well, I mean, obviously, Liberty, one of the most prolific offenses in the country that have been since they've transitioned. They've done really well. They spread you out. They run and gun. They'll spread it out, throw it, run it. I mean, they do everything offensively very well. And they pack that stadium too. So they got to match the energy defensively and offensively, and then especially defensively. But offensively, man, you got to find a way to establish the run a little bit more, just better. I mean, you just can't win games when you're running for 2 yards a carry, 3 yards a carry, less than 2 yards a carry. It's just not going to happen. You got to find a way to make it easier on your quarterback, make it easier on your weapons. That's already depleted. That's one thing that's really crushed Sam Houston's, year already kind of this year. Just injuries piling up. Adai's gone or Bocek's gone. I mean, it's just the list goes on and on and on. What's next? It's a tough spot to be in. Liberty, maybe a little bit of a look-ahead game for Liberty coming up, but still tough spot. Sam Houston, it's going to be tough.
I think mine just boils down to just being disciplined. And when you're disciplined, you make fewer mistakes, and the communication is better. I think that's a big problem in the secondary is communication. I don't think it's a talent issue. I think it's just communication issues because that secondary was looking pretty decent in that first half and most of that third quarter. After that, though, it just looked like they just were always caught sleeping. And even though the prevent defense, you're going back again at the end of the game. I will go back to that. You should always stay alert. If you see someone that's open in your assigned area, go to them. Don't just stand back. You keep the receivers in front of you.
Well, yeah, it's assignment.
No receivers should be right behind y'all in prevent defense, which they did good. But you gotta make the tackle. You gotta make the tackle.
It's just assignment football, but we got to look at this. When Jacksonville's running that hurry-up offense, Sam Houston struggled. What does Liberty like to do? They like to go fast. They like to run. They like to get out in space because they got athletes. Sam Houston's got to match some athleticism there. Blitzing, maybe try to stop that a little bit. We'll see, but it's going to be tough.
It will be tough. That game's coming up this coming Thursday, October the 5th. It is a local time here in Huntsville, 6 p.m. kickoff, 7 p.m. out there. Myself and Brian Adams and our great engineer here, Colin Neal. We're going to be out there with the broadcast on GoBearcats.com and the Bearcat Sports mobile app coming up next Thursday. Before we transition to high school football, I want to talk a little bit what's coming up in college football this weekend. In Conference USA, Western Kentucky beat Middle Tennessee last night 31-10 in what has been considered the best rivalry name in college football. 100 miles of hate is what they call it. Western Kentucky getting the win there. Tonight, Louisiana Tech takes on UTEP, a couple of teams that are trying to find their stride in conference play. That's at 8 p.m. out in the Sun Bowl in El Paso. And then let's look at some of the top 25 matchups coming up this weekend. Tonight, number 10 Utah's taking on number 19 Oregon State on FS1.
Love Oregon State.
Yes.
Love Oregon State.
As the line there, 4 points in favor of the Beavs.
Huge spot. They don't know if the quarterback for Utah,
Cam Rising.
They don't know if he's going to play. They've looked shaky throughout the year. The backup quarterback's not great. They struggled against Baylor. They struggled against Florida. Those aren't very good teams. They scored 14 points against UCLA. One of them was a pick six. One of the first plays. I think it was the first play of the game. Oregon State's going to roll DJ Uiagalelei. Tough spot. He hasn't been great. This is when they figured out they got a really good team. The defense is good at Oregon State. Pac-12 looks really good this year. Utah's fraudulent.
For a conference that may not exist next year, which is insane to think about. And the game's in Corvallis, so I like Oregon State in that situation. Utah obviously has playoff aspirations
good color
behind
game
them.
too. Really good color game. Black and orange, red and white.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to look good.
Oh, yeah.
Utah, we went to Salt Lake City, and the Utes were celebrating a victory over the Florida Gators when we went up there for Sam Houston versus BYU. Really good football town. They really do care about it's Utes country.
It is.
They care about their football.
And Kyle Whittingham is one of the premier coaches too.
Yes.
I will say this about Oregon State. Despite all the talks of conference realignment and all that, they haven't been letting that get to them. They still go out there and they play good football. I'm gonna go with as much as I liked, staying in Salt Lake City, getting to know some Utes fan. I'm going with the Beavs.
With the Beavs on that one. That game's tonight, 8 p.m. on FS1. Looking at some Saturday matchups, number 8 USC is going to Boulder and Folsom Field, taking on Prime and the Colorado Buffs. You saw what Oregon did to Colorado last week, really undoing a lot of the hype around Colorado, and now they have to host another top team in USC. This is going to be another tough game for the Buffs.
Yeah, you look at it and you think, okay, bounce back spot for Colorado. They're going back home. Too bad. Travis Hunter's still not healthy. They don't have a run game. Colorado, overrated. I love Coach Prime. I like what he's trying to do there. I think it's a project that's going to happen. I think it's been a successful season, although I don't think they have really many good wins. I think TCU's a 7-5 team. I've been saying that for as long as this year's really started. Nebraska, they're trash. Colorado State, they're trash. USC will roll. Caleb Williams. I just don't like the spot there for Colorado. And it's a tough game to get up for if you're Colorado. I mean, it's 11 a.m. kickoff. What is that there? 10 o'clock, 9 o'clock there?
Yeah, it's
So,
10 o'clock there.
10 o'clock there, Mountain Time. Who gets up for a 10 a.m. kickoff against a top 10 team in the country? USC rolls.
Should be a prime time game.
No.
Come on.
Colorado's been in the spotlight.
All right. Well,
They've milked it too much. I think.
You mentioned Travis Hunter. I saw this the other day. So if y'all remember from the Colorado State game when Travis Hunter took that hit, that was from Henry Blackburn. They actually went bowling together recently. To show everyone that there's no hard feelings. And and another great thing about Travis Hunter is that he's a player. He's a dog. He literally texted Coach Prime and said, you got to put me in this weekend.
Put me in, Coach. I'm ready to play.
And then Deion's like, no, we need you for the rest of the season. And that's the kind of dynamic player. That's the kind of dynamic player that Travis Hunter is. He can play both sides of the ball. Whether you can argue whether he's better on this side or the other side.
I mean, he's better defensively. He can't catch.
Yeah. Hey, that's totally fine. I mean, you use your athleticism to go up there and bat the ball down, and if you catch it, you catch it.
Yeah.
And I mean, as for how the game goes, I mean, USC should win, right?
You would think,
but it's college football. We see crazy things all the time, like we did last night.
Yeah.
So.
You never know. All right, so that game is 11 a.m., the big noon game on Fox tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. We'll throw some rapid-fire picks for you real quick on ESPN tomorrow at 11 a.m. Number 22, Florida, is in Lexington taking on Kentucky. Kentucky is favored by 1 point in this ball game. It's apparently supposed to be pretty close. Kentucky's 4-0 to start the year. I'm thinking I could see a Wildcat upset, but Florida's Florida.
Yeah, I mean, the line – plus 1 point there. And it's in Lexington. The line screams to take Florida there, because usually it's about a 3-point spread, just taking the home team. That being said, Kentucky rolls. Got to roll with the former Bearcat there and Ramon Jefferson, old running back. I don't even know does he even play there?
I don't even know if he's there anymore because he never even played it down for Kentucky because he got hurt.
Oh, that's right.
Training camp, but
I'll still roll. Well, I'll still roll with Kentucky.
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, the line right there, you mentioned it. I'm gonna go opposite. I'm gonna go Florida.
Florida. All right. What's my producer saying here?
Ramon Jefferson is there. He returned this season after being granted an extension of eligibility from the NCAA.
Ah.
So this is his 7th season, and he was a
Okay, dude, time to go.
SEC academic honor roll.
Good for him.
Oh, good for him. Quick one here. Aggies against Arkansas.
I'm not picking the
Nah,
Aggies. Get out of here.
Nah, Arkansas.
It's at Jerry World tomorrow.
Tie.
Yeah, okay.
Go Arkansas.
Go Hogs, I guess. All right. Let's move away from some of the more early games, looking at the
You knew the answer to that, by the way.
Getting to the mid-afternoon.
Whoop.
Georgia versus Auburn at Jordan-Hare. 2:30 p.m. on CBS. Georgia, the number 1 team in the country, against a Auburn squad who's coming off of a loss in SEC play.
Bounce back spot there for Auburn. They didn't look great against Texas A&M at all. They got whooped up at Kyle Field. That being said, Georgia is the number 1 team in the country. Defense is rotational at this point. I mean, they just rotate NFL guys. Georgia easily wins and covers.
Yeah, I mean,
kind of these wash picks. I'm not gonna lie.
What's the line on that?
14.5.
14.5.
I'd say Auburn covers that. Keeps it close.
We'll see. 2:30 on ABC. Biggest Big 12 matchup so far this year. Number 24. I can't believe I'm saying this. Number 24, Kansas in DKR against number 3 Texas.
Our producer is very ecstatic about that.
He is a huge Kansas fan for a guy that grew up a Longhorn fan.
That is nasty. That is nasty. I mean, we all know what happens there at the Allen Fieldhouse in college basketball. A lot of questionable calls there. Maybe a little, payments to from Bill Self. That being said, some recruiting allegations, always suspensions.
It's mainly just football.
I mean,
the
Big 12 conference.
This is an interesting game because whoever probably if Texas wins this game, they obviously stay in the college football playoff conversation. Kansas with a win, they probably move up just a few spots in the rankings, and that's about it. But that's a huge win.
Not. It's in Austin, so that would elevate them.
That might move them into the top 20.
Leapfrog, not jump frog. Leapfrog.
I knew what you meant.
It
but,
could move them to the top 15 depending on how other things go.
Right. So this is big for the Jayhawks, but I'm thinking Longhorns in this one. Quinn Ewers is having a great year so far. 1,000 yards already on the year, 9 touchdowns. So I'm taking the Horns in that one, Colin.
Heisman sleeper too.
I mean, as much as I want to go against UT, I can't. I like Quinn Ewers. I think he's going to be a good QB prospect heading into the draft. I think any team would like to have him. I think he looks more NFL ready than the other ones. That said, I don't like to say this, but go Longhorns.
Yep, there you go. Because we have a Baylor fan in the house, we'll take a look at one more 2:30 game here. They are on the road in Orlando taking
Baylor.
on UCF.
Baylor is going to get crushed. They are so bad.
Man.
The team is okay. Coaches, they suck. Jeff Grimes, the OC, he's awful. He is. I mean, they can't run the ball, and they run the same old freaking the power. I mean, it's the most annoying thing. Dave Aranda. It's all fun and games when you're the cool, stern, and you're winning and you're not saying anything and you look just freaking cool. Well, when you're losing, you look like a dummy.
Well,
They're
just I want to mention this to people. One of our great segments on Behind the Mic is Bum of the Weekend. Who was your first Bum of the Week?
Dave Aranda.
So,
I mean, you can't lose to Texas State. You just can't. You're Baylor. That being said, Houston lost to Rice. So if you're Houston, you can't lose to Rice. But Dan Holgerson, another bum.
Mm-hmm. So,
tune in Wednesdays 3 to 5.
Yes, absolutely. Moving to the later
90.5 KSHU.
Yes.
The
later afternoon games coming up on tomorrow. Number 13 LSU is in Hotty Toddy Land in Oxford, Mississippi, taking on number 20 Ole Miss. Probably one of the more underrated games coming up this weekend, and that, to me, that's a tough call. LSU 2.5-point favorites on the line.
Ole Miss, home dog. Lost last week against Bama. I love Ole Miss in this spot. I think LSU is critically overrated. I don't think their team is that great. Harold Perkins, for the prospect that he is, they haven't figured out how to use him at all this year. And Jalen Daniels, not sold on him. Give me Ole Miss. Lane Kiffin, Hotty Toddy.
LSU are my frauds right now. And one of them in the top 25. There's always a couple frauds in the top 25. Haven't figured out the other ones yet, but LSU, big fraud alert. Go Rebels.
6:30 on ABC. Number 11 Notre Dame taking on an undefeated number 17 Duke. Battle. I believe that's a rivalry game between the two, if I'm not mistaken. Either way, but that's intriguing. A lot of the blue bloods of basketball having really good years this year when it comes to the football gridiron. I like Notre Dame in this kind of game just for the sake of going for Notre Dame. 5.5 points on the line. Just an intriguing matchup in Durham.
I'm going with Duke. I mean, I went with them in their season opener against the Clemson Tigers when the Tigers were number 9, and they crushed them. They just outcoached them, outplayed them in every single aspect. I really like what Duke has building there. They had their first 9-win season last year in their program's history. I like him. I like the Dukes. I like the Duke Blue Devils in this situation as well. I mean, hey, you lost Coach K, and then all of a sudden your school's
wrong
football.
Sport dog.
Hey, you lost Coach K as an athletic program. Now your football's doing well, so it's a decent trade-off to say the least.
Hey, that's not to take away from what John Shires was able to continue what Coach K was doing, but we'll talk more about that once we get into college basketball season. Last one here. It's 8 o'clock on ESPN tomorrow. Number 12 Alabama on the road in Starkville taking on Mississippi State.
Ooh, man.
No, Roll Tide.
14.5.
Bama don't mess around.
Nah, it's gonna be. It's probably gonna get.
Do you think that even with the quarterback turmoil that they've been embroiled in?
No, Mississippi State is awful. I watched. Okay, get this. The other week, I was watching Mississippi State versus LSU just to watch it. Mississippi State, they're awful. I mean, they suck. They're really bad. Like, offensively, defensively, they couldn't stop a nosebleed. They're awful. And Bama's Bama. So.
Yeah, that is true. Bama's Bama. It's weird seeing them with a number 12 next to their name and not a single-digit number next to Alabama. Obviously, it's been a tough year for the Tide.
We'll see. I think they're a better team than their record shows, and then with the ranking shows, I think they ran to a red-hot Texas team. Texas, I think Texas is and I'm not a Texas guy.
Obviously,
They're going to go to the playoff. They are that good.
Yeah.
They are really good. Their defense is that good. Their offense, their weapons, worthy. I mean, A.D. Mitchell, Ewers, the running game, they're that good.
Yeah, and then you look at what they've just done so far this year. They look really good, and a lot of people thought that they were going to be the first Texas team to make it to the college football playoff, and then TCU shocked everybody last year and did what they did, but they have a good shot to replace TCU as the Texas team and make something happen. Obviously, a long way to go in the
shock
college.
the world.
Well, I mean, just in the sense that making it to the CFP and making it to the national championship, that came as I didn't have TCU in my top 4
Well,
at the
they
beginning
shouldn't
of
have made it
last
because
season.
they didn't win the conference. But
Right, but it's the spoils of college football. Sometimes that's just how it rolls.
that's
So
the playoff committee for you.
Yep.
Well, speaking of that, it did come out a few days ago that the NCAA and college football are going to, and the committee, I think they're added in there as well. They're going to hold off talks about expanding the playoff to 12 teams, saying that they are going to wait what happens with the Pac-12 situation. I don't know why.
There's a
That's
lot of
pandering. That's awful. That's awful.
I'm not saying I agree with it, but that's what I read on ESPN the other day.
my last touch on this before we finally get into some high school football here real quick before we take a break. My biggest thing about it is it's no secret that the Pac-12 is probably going to fold after this year.
Well, they are going to fold.
Because all you have left is Washington State and Oregon State. And I know, Colin, you and I have had conversations about this. They're going to go to the Mountain West. The Pac-12 is not going to try and pull and try to merge with the Mountain West because I don't think any of those schools want to do that. Okay, but where else could Washington State and Oregon State go?
I don't know.
I don't think you put them in the Big Ten because the Big Ten's already a nut house as it is what it is going to be next year.
Yeah, and the Big Ten academics are very important. I'm not saying that Oregon State and Washington State are dumb schools or anything, but I don't know if they fit into that. Indiana, Purdue, Michigan, Wisconsin. You know what I mean?
No.
And then Big 12 is already getting big enough. They're not in the ACC because they're on the West Coast. Where else would they go?
Well, granted, that it would make sense because Stanford and Cal's going to the ACC, but that's for academic purposes.
That's also the brand recognition. Stanford has won that Capital One Cup every year because they just dominate in all the sports that no one watches.
And Cal's
Cal. Cal's got the name recognition.
And SMU's going for academic purposes as well, but given it's a private school and they got the money as well. So, yeah, the American could be an interesting landing spot, but geographically, I don't think that makes any sense. To me, the Mountain West makes sense because you have all those schools in that same region.
A step back, though.
It is a step back, but you don't go into. I don't think you go independent at that point. But
I'm just saying, Pacific Mountain Conference sounds pretty cool.
The Pac Mountain is what
the Pac Mountain. I'm telling you.
It wouldn't.
That's your idea?
It wouldn't
That's
shock.
an awful idea.
Okay.
Of course it is. Because, you go against me.
That's right.
That's right. All right.
You picked Duke, right?
I picked Duke.
Yeah,
He did.
I'll pick Notre Dame.
Yeah, okay, there you go. All right,
Real fighting Irish.
Yes. Don't bring your characters out on the show.
Oh, come on, man.
I love it on 90.5. I love it when I hear it.
Well, it's
but
a wee bit Irish.
Leopold.
it's going to happen at some point. But
It is going to happen. Well, we banned them from the 9.5 studios.
Just for a week.
Just because of the Ryder
for
Cup.
Ryder Cup purposes.
We can get to that later.
We'll talk about that in our final note coming up later on the show.
This is gonna be this guy's.
Yeah,
we're gonna
let him rant for 5 minutes at the end of the show in our final note after what happened last night. But either way, that's why if you look at Luke right now, he's just not. He's a tired fella.
Yeah,
over here.
I have been up since Wednesday at 8 a.m. No sleep. That's just dedication, though. That's my dedication to KSAM, dedication to my Twitter, dedication to the studio, 9.5, dedication to schoolwork, too.
Yes, absolutely.
Especially school.
Especially. Yeah, of course.
There you go. Of course. Got to.
Yeah, that's right.
This man's graduating in the spring.
Summer.
Is it summer?
It's summer now.
Okay.
Now.
I guess it always has been. Anyway, Let's dive into some high school football talk here real quick. Hornet football is on the road tomorrow night. They are taking on Lamar Consolidated, taking on the Mustangs, who they come off of a tough loss to Brian Rudder, 40-13, while the Hornets come off of a district opener win over Montgomery, 44-27. Luke's always is done on the sidelines for us on those Friday nights.
No.
For instance, tomorrow
No.
it's Saturday nights. What are you talking about?
The only thing I look towards to broadcasting wise is this guy on the sideline.
Uh-huh. So
I
what,
appreciate
what,
that.
what are me and Brian, chopped liver?
I mean,
Don't answer that, please. But, looking back.
I'm on Team Carlos right here, so.
Yeah.
oh come on, man! I try to bring you up, and you just put me back.
No,
down.
no. You bring down my guy over here. That means I attack you.
I'm just trying to.
Junkyard dog.
I'm keeping his ego in check. All right.
His ego's not. His ego isn't going anywhere. He's just sitting there.
I'm just here, Colin. I'm here to facilitate.
He can
things.
also just boot you out real quick.
I really could. We're on firing number
Talking-
41.
You're
talking about
you're gonna-
Montgomery.
You're gonna
Yes.
you're gonna have to drag me.
Yes.
Just gonna say.
Montgomery, you were on the sidelines for that entire ball game.
Just a fantastic win, dominating. Third quarter came out a little cold, came out a little flat, but a good win. I mean, Trayshawn Brown.
Oh.
That's all I got to say. Trayshawn Brown. How many touchdowns do you have? 1, 2, 3, 4 touchdowns. 4 rushing touchdowns, over 200 yards. I think it was probably
252
exactly.
on 36 carries. That's 7 yards a carry.
I mean, running the ball, catching the ball. He was all over the place. Trayshawn Brown, quarterback play. Austin Taylor played a really good game. Turnover a little bit there, here and there. Penalties still a little bit of an issue. Y'all say, well, that needs to be ironed out. Still pretty early in the season.
Mm-hmm.
They'll get that figured out. But just a good overall game. Defensively, not the greatest, but
yeah. I mean, the run up the middle continues to be the Hornets' Achilles heel. Reggie Williams really ran over Huntsville in that ballgame. Colin, you were producing it for us in studio that night and watching it on the stream as well.
Well, hold on, Colin. But running up the middle has been a little bit of an issue to stopping the run. But getting after the quarterback has been one of the best things Huntsville's been able to do. I mean, Zach Moss out there on the edge, Shiloh Jones coming in from the linebacker, Juwan Giddens coming in from the linebackers in the middle of the field. They've been fantastic. I mean, these guys get after the quarterback and make you run. And that's what this defense does. They just got to hone in on that a little bit. That's what kind of killed them in the playoffs last year against Fort Bend Marshall. It's a completely different team, size-wise, but you're right.
I mean, Williams may not be a quarterback, but he's fast, quick.
Oh, yeah.
Isn't that now 2 straight weeks now that the Hornets have had to deal with 2 fast quarterbacks?
Yes, that's 2
And
straight weeks.
you and I, a few days before the game, I mean, you called it, Carlos, when I talked to you, and you said it. I believe you said it on the podcast too before Montgomery. It was going to be a shootout.
Yeah,
and
it was.
And well, Trayshawn Brown. One word for him: dog.
He answered the call.
He did, and we were curious to see how he was going to respond because he had a nagging ankle injury nagging at him through the non-district play, and it was going to be curious to see how he performed. And well, he showed out, and he's going to need to do that again tomorrow against Lamar Consolidated. Looking at Lamar Consolidated's quarterback in Mr. Lowther, Nathan Lowther, on the year for him so far. We always have to highlight the quarterbacks because that's what the offense runs through at the end of the day. He's another runner for the sense that he's 43 for 118. On the year for him, 649 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions as well. But here's the other thing, too. He's the leading rusher for Lamar Consolidated. He has taken 66 carries, 239 yards. That's an average of 3.6 a carry. And he has one of those games, I believe, was a 100 yard game. So that was really amplified in one game. So the Hornets, if they are able to stop him, I think they stop the Mustang offense tomorrow.
It's all about contain, and Lamar Consolidated are not a great team. 2-3 on the year, 0-1 in district. They're not that good. Huntsville is the better team. I believe they're the more disciplined team. I think we have the better coaches. We have the better support staff. Our assistant coaches at Huntsville, I mean, it's top tier. I mean, we got guys that have played, in the NFL, guys that play top college ball, coaching these kids. We have great coaches and players and the support, the parents, Huntsville Quarterback Club. So many of our sponsors love this team. They're a good team.
They are.
They are going to destroy Lamar Consolidated. and I'll be on the sideline for that, and I'm
Yes.
going to enjoy it.
Yes, you shall. It'll be a fun ball game. I'm excited for it. It is a 6 o'clock kick tomorrow, 5:15 p.m. Charlie's Used Cars pregame show. Myself, Brian Adams, Luke Scott has the call for that one. Colin, you're pulling double duty tomorrow. You got the Sam Houston Bearcat volleyball call on ESPN Plus tomorrow at 1 o'clock. And then you'll come right over here to the studio and produce for us in-house for the ball game against Lamar Consolidated. It's going to be a fun day, to say the least.
Shout out Hannah Baker. We'll break the
Tonight. Jordan Smith has the call of that tonight.
Attaboy.
At 6:30 p.m. So I want to give a big shout out to Sam Houston Volleyball as they're getting ready for that ball game here this evening. Hannah Baker going to make history tonight.
Knock on wood.
For the Bearcats. I'm more than confident. I think she needs 3 or 4. I haven't gotten full confirmation of that yet because there's been some stat changes, but we'll see what happens. But again, Hornet football tomorrow. Lamar Consolidated. Hornets looking to get to 2-0 in district play before they welcome in the new stadium coming up next Friday night. And I saw some pictures last night from the JV game, who, by the way, stomped Lamar Consolidated 50-0. What a way to christen the new digs.
50 burger. Oh yeah, the stadium. I was driving by it the other day. Man, I drove into the parking lot, just walked around it. Beautiful. It's so nice. This is so well deserved.
It is just amazing to see it finally finished because all these years.
And they playing at Bowers, and not that Bowers is a bad stadium or anything.
No,
but the high school deserves their own stadium. Kids deserve that.
All the Hornets that came before, it's everything that's happened before. It's now come to this moment, and it's just amazing to see. I'm glad I'm here to see this development happening, and I'm ready to see what's going to happen in the future. And with this Hornets team that looks really good so far, I think this is going to be quite a special season.
It will be a lot of games to be played. Some tough opponents are on the docket with Lake Creek and Brenham around the corner, and Randall, who's having a good year as well. But focus is on Lamar Consolidated against 6 o'clock kick.
Can't forget about Brenham.
Brenham
Cubs.
Can't forget about them. So, again, 6 o'clock kick tomorrow night, 5:15 p.m. pregame right here on the 101.7 KSAM YouTube channel and over the radio on 101.7 KSAM. Okay, we'll step aside and take a break. When we come back, we will talk some Major League Baseball as we're down to the final 3 games of the regular season. Postseason is almost here. We'll also talk a little bit about the NFL and the games coming up this weekend on the KSAM Sports Podcast after this. Cole's runner cutting it back across the 40. Cole's runner, 50, 45, 40, 35, 30. Trying to stiff one more man. Oh, he's spun down at the 25-yard line.
Butler for 3. Good!
Gives it to Twine at the right wing. Deep 3. Got it! In time! The Hornets are heading to the postseason.
Swing and a miss! It's over! Huntsville to the regional quarterfinals! Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, on the KSAM Sports Podcast. Carlos Zimmerman here with Jordan Smith, just doing the producing today. We have two special guests with us. Is Luke Scott and Colin Neal from behind the mic on 90.5 KSHU. They also work with us here at KSAM and the Lake. Luke is going to be obviously getting ready for Hornet basketball coming up towards the end of the year and into next year. Colin, you'll be getting ready for Lady Hornet basketball and Hornet baseball as well. And then it'll be right back into Diamond sports season.
He is baseball. Yeah, I was thinking baseball. So never mind. You still do softball.
I'm still doing. This is my last year, folks. Unless they somehow convince me to try and come back and do it again, I'm going to do my best not to make that happen. But I'll be back for one more year. Hopefully, a run all the way to Austin at State is in the cards. But we won't talk about that until we get into 2024. It's time to talk some pro sports, baseball. 3 games left on the regular season for just about every team. Nope, just for every team. 3 games left. And the race for October is really into full swing, no pun intended. Especially in the American League West. It's pretty much confirmed how the East has panned out. How about Baltimore this year? 159 on the year as of this moment. Tampa Bay has one wild card locked up at 97-62. And then we have a winner of the AL Central because anybody there except maybe Kansas City had a shot to win that this year. This year it was the Minnesota Twins. They get that spot, but the AL West is still undecided. We don't even have a division winner yet because of Seattle's heroics last night against the Texas Rangers, winning 3-2 after being down 2-1 with one out in the bottom of the 9th. What are you going to do, Jordan? That's right.
I don't think you can play that. We're not going to get claimed, right?
No.
Because I stopped it now, it won't.
Yeah.
Carlos, you mentioned the AL West. I mean, I have a big old sheet right here. You can take a look at it right here.
16 different scenarios,
yes.
folks.
So in the Astros, if the Astros have to win all 3 games, sweep the Diamondbacks to have a shot at being the AL West champions, they can have. If they do that, and the Mariners at least after last night at the time of recording this, they win 2 of the next 3 games against the Rangers, while the Astros sweep Arizona. The Astros are American League West champions.
So here's the thing we have to think about, though. The big question is, there are more scenarios that favor Houston to get a playoff spot. There are only 5 scenarios, 5 scenarios where the Astros cannot make the postseason and end up in 3rd place in the division. Here's the factor here that we need to think about, and it's kind of the X factor here. One of the 3 teams in the AL West is not going to make the postseason. The reason being is because Toronto is still in play.
Yep.
For that second wild card spot. They are a game ahead of the Astros. They are 2 games up on Seattle, 1 game behind Texas as of this moment. So that's the other thing you got to think about in there. But not all 3 teams can make the playoffs. So one team is going to be left out. However, one thing that is going for the Rangers here, there's only one scenario that puts them out of the postseason. And that is if the Astros
win 2.
They win 2 against Arizona and the Mariners sweep.
And Astros would still be in the playoffs due to tiebreaker, which, I mean, I'd rather win the division, of course, but that'd be absolutely hilarious. And I mean, just top tier comedy if that scenario were to happen and the Rangers found themselves out of the playoffs if Toronto is able to win out. That would be just amazing.
America, Huntsville, look.
Okay.
This whole time.
America?
Yeah. Mr. Worldwide will be listening.
Does America
and watch.
America.
First of all, no, don't pay attention.
Its own city doesn't even care about the Rangers. Once the Cowboys are on, they don't care.
Well, yeah, it's America's team. It's God's franchise. Literally, there's a reason why we have a hole in the football stadium. You know why? So God can watch his team play. That's true. I mean, it's just an absolute fact that no one can disprove because it's an absolute fact.
How about beat the Cardinals then?
Anyways,
we'll talk NFL in a minute. We'll talk NFL in a minute.
First of all, low blow, and second of all, dude, that was 2011. When was that? 2010. Doesn't matter. Guess what? We're talking about 2023, America. All this time, Colin Neal, 90.5, Twitter, he just bashes the Astros. This is the most fraudulent fan we're talking about right here. He's on there bashing the Astros, going after Dusty Baker, man who delivered you a World Series.
Talent,
and just
not Dusty.
Loyalty, delivered you a World Series. multiple now championships in the AL West. Pennants. I mean, this guy has done everything for you. Dug your franchise out of the ground after the cheating scandal, 2017. It's true. It's true. And he was the guy that brought y'all up. And all Astros fans, and you, not all Astros fans, some, including Colin, bash. Be grateful. He's a great coach for you. And you know what? All this year, we don't deserve it. And then there's one little
What do you
probability.
mean all this year? That's completely wrong.
Yes, it is.
Did I say all of this year that we don't deserve?
You said that. You said that for the past 2 months.
2 weeks.
Wrong. That's
You're just trying to get America against me.
Colin, I'm not trying to go against you here because you're the other Astros fan in the factor here, but we have a group chat on GroupMe that can prove all of that.
Oh yeah.
As to I'm guilty of it too. I've been bashing on the Astros all year long, and that we were kind of
not consistent. They're not consistent.
We are.
All right, finish y'all's points.
The batting has been up and down.
Finish y'all's points.
Jose Altuve is awful defensively. He rakes awful defensively. We saw that the other night. Second of all, the Rangers, they've been more consistent. Wrong. They had one bad losing streak. They got a little slump there.
What happened?
What's
wrong with y'all's bullpen, huh? What's wrong with the bullpen?
What's wrong with your franchise?
Okay, so I'm getting bashed for being truthful about my team, and then you're doing the same thing.
Wrong. About being unloyal.
So,
Unloyalty. That's the issue.
So okay, I rather be honest, and the real fans are the ones that are honest and truthful. Why has
blind allegiance?
If Dusty is this great manager, which he is, I have that respect for him.
Hall of Famer.
How in the world did he not win a World Series in San Francisco or anywhere else? There has always been bad feelings wherever he goes. I'm always going to give him the respect that he deserves because he deserves it as a player and as a manager.
I mean,
but
that's just the dumbest thing you've ever said.
Talent has bailed this team out time in and time out.
Well, who puts the players on the field?
Well,
the manager,
it was
the coach.
Dusty
Baker.
It was all the players that are on the field right now.
Carlos,
most of them, at least,
Carlos.
are Jeff Lunhow.
Carlos, what are we talking about here?
That is Jeff Lunhow's
We're talking
vision
about
that
playoff
is being
scenarios.
played
We're
out.
talking about the ranking and standings.
We are talking about playoff scenarios, but here's the thing: in this Astros, to use a Jordan Smith term, the golden era of Astros baseball from 20. I know it's
That's
not just
not
you,
what-
but the 2017 to now.
Yeah,
This has been the worst team of the bunch. You're 87 and 72.
Talent-wise, you're not. Talent-wise, you're not the worst.
Then why are we 87 and 72?
Because of the managing. Why is Yonder Diaz on the bench a lot more than Martin Maldonado? You cannot be a championship team seriously and constantly put in Maldonado.
I agree.
He's having statistically one of the worst hitting seasons, and yes, he has been.
That's not true. That is not true. He tied his career home run record. His own. He tied it. He tied his own
and
career.
And Yonder Diaz has doubled that in a couple hundred less at bats.
And
Maldonado's
been your guy. Maldonado has been one of the stalwart defenders in the league.
He's not good.
Gold Glover.
He's not as good as he used to be, but the thing is, the reason why he's in these orders is because this is who the Astros pitching staff are used to.
You do not deserve to choose. You, as a pitcher, do not deserve to choose who you put behind the plate if you are losing these many games. You should. You have been in games and you have been crapping them away.
That's false. I hate pitchers. I'm the first one to tell you that. Guess what? Who is the most important player on the field?
The pitcher.
The pitcher, and who's second?
The catcher.
The catcher.
Because he calls the game.
That's right. It's like the center and the quarterback, who are the only two players to touch the ball every play. It's those two. The play ends and starts with the catcher and the pitcher. Okay? Those are your two guys. You feel most comfortable with Maldonado. I would love to have Maldonado on the Rangers. Good thing we have Jonah Heim, probably the best catcher in the league right now.
Okay,
Can't deny that.
Y'all would not
Can't
want
deny
Martin
that.
Maldonado. Y'all would not want to how he hits.
I want to hark on one point you made. Why he wasn't why Dusty was not successful with San Francisco and the Cubs. He's coached the Reds. He was 2 years with the Nationals.
The Reds are
the
Reds.
With the Giants, what it was. Yeah, you're making a good point. The Reds were the Reds in 2008 to 2013. But with the Cubs, the only reason they didn't make the World Series that year, the talent collapsed on the field because, of the Bartman incident. That's why. That's exactly why they didn't win in 2003, because they thought, that was our curse. And then we're not going to be able to win anything.
Okay.
Also-
That's not on Dusty.
Okay.
Does winning matter?
Okay.
Does winning matter when you have Barry
Okay.
Bonds? You just watch home runs. That's better than
Okay,
winning.
first of all, they still had a good lead. It's on them. They should just rub that off as professionals. You rub that
But
off.
that's not Dusty's fault.
You still don't blow the lead.
That's not Dusty's fault.
Is
I
he
mean,
out there
I'm just
pitching?
saying, it's
Is he
not a
out there pitching and
coincidence.
batting?
Who was on the mound that day? Dusty Baker or Mark Pryor?
I mean, it's just not a coincidence. I mean, think about it. Wherever he's gone, the next year after he leaves, the teams have gotten better.
Wrong.
the Cubs. He left the Cubs in 2006, and they weren't relevant again until 2015.
I'm just saying. It's just
I'm not trying to gang up on you. I'm just trying.
No,
I'm just trying to spit
I
the
am
facts
just
out.
saying there is something wrong here when Diaz, who is the better hitter, the better defender.
KSAM audience.
I don't care about where Maldonado's been at this point. When we're vying, we're defending champs.
Doesn't look like it.
And it doesn't look like it because we keep putting someone.
So it's Maldonado's fault?
You cannot
It's
put
Maldonado's
all
fault?
the blame for the Astros' fall right now on one guy. It's not just Maldonado.
It's been the pitching
Altuve's
staff.
been hurt this year. Alvarez has been hurt this year. Jeremy Pena, who was
Pitching
a
staff.
god to us last year as Rookie of the Year,
He's gotten better.
he's gotten better, but he hasn't had a good year.
What does he bat? What's his batting average? Like 240?
261.
That's
You don't know anything about baseball, so you
Wrong.
can't judge
Wrong.
by
He's
batting
in,
average.
okay,
Wrong.
look, okay.
Wrong.
I know. Let me catch myself. Stuff about baseball. He's having an awful sophomore year. It's a sophomore slump for him. So I kind of half expected this on him. But you cannot put all the blame on Maldonado. Here's who you can put the blame on. Our pitching staff has been dog water.
I didn't put the blame on Maldonado. I put the blame on Dusty. And
Okay, but
Maldonado.
Outside of Abreu and Valdez, those have been the two very consistent, and Presley for a little bit.
Abreu as
Valdez
a
has
whole.
even hadn't had a great year.
Abreu.
But he's been okay. He's been a lot better than everyone else.
Are you talking about Jose Abreu or Brian Abreu?
No, Brian Abreu.
We're talking about pitchers.
Okay,
pitchers.
Well, I'm just making sure. But the pitching at one point was really good in the season, and now in our offense was not
But
good.
it's
To be fair.
garbage now when it matters.
It's either way. The pitching is either really good and our offense is really bad, and the bullpen's really good. It's like a constant. It's like a constant shift. Like
To be
can we
fair,
find a
there's-
good middle ground.
There's no way you were going to keep up with what the Astros did last year in the playoffs. That was once in a lifetime type thing. I
Impressive.
mean, that was. You 1-0 lead going into the seventh, and it's a win.
I'm
You
just saying.
I
we
mean, they
should
locked it
not.
down. You just can't keep up with that.
We should not be in the situation where we have to rely on other teams. We should be controlling our own destiny right now. That's what defending champs do. They come back a bit stronger. Actually,
Ask the Yankees. They haven't come back stronger since 2009.
okay, that's not. I'm talking about the previous year.
Oh,
Who are the reigning champions right now? The
it's-
Houston Astros.
It is
not
the
the
Astros.
Yankees.
But look at this.
We should not be in this situation.
When
That's all I'm
Atlanta
saying.
won the World Series last year,
What happened?
What did they do? Get bounced in the NLDS by who went on to the World Series in Philadelphia.
It happens.
They didn't get up to standard. And now Atlanta's the odds-on favorite to win the World Series this year because I don't think anybody's stopping them. I'm going to come out and be blatantly honest. Atlanta's going to win this World Series this year because that team 1 through 9 they mash.
Yeah.
They hit
They
the
said
ball
that-
very hard,
They said that
very
about the,
far.
They said that about the 2019 Astros, and look what happened.
We didn't win the World Series.
Well, the Astros were.
Well,
were-
actually,
were-
actually,
the
no.
Astros were the best
First
offense
of all-
since the Bronx Bombers in the 20s and Murderers Row.
first of all, the best part about that whole team was the pitching. Garrett Cole, Greinke, Verlander, McCullers, the bullpen, y'all were great.
And the
You
balls
just-
were juiced in
You just
2019.
yep, the balls were juiced. Bad part is you couldn't win at home. And guess what?
no one won at home.
And that's still
I'm
an
just
issue.
saying- I'm
How is
just
that still an
saying-
issue this year?
I'm just saying.
How is that an issue this year?
I'm just saying, just because you're the best team in the regular season doesn't mean you're the odds-on favorite.
We are 39-42 at home this year.
Okay.
48-30 away from Minute Maid Park.
That's very good. That's very good.
That is very great to see. But we're 37-42 against teams over 500 as well.
And remember 2017. Now cheating scandal. Hand up. Hands up. Hand up. Hand up.
Come on.
Hand up for what?
Cheating scandal. Y'all were awesome at home for a reason.
Yes.
But like
Every
outside
team,
of that,
every team was cheating in one way or another.
outside of that, well, yeah, that's been proven a little bit.
So I'm
but
not putting my hand up and say that the
Put your
Astros.
hand up.
No, I'm not going to do that
We
because
cheated.
anyways, hey,
I'm not
still
denying
won.
that.
You still won. though.
I just wish people stopped saying that we were the only ones that were doing it.
But you know what? Hey, it's okay. You can't win every year. Like that's just not how pro sports work. Unless you're the Cowboys.
There has not been a back-to-back World Series champion since the 90s dynasty of the New York Yankees.
Look,
it has been a different
that not-
champion
was-
every
was
year
that not
since 2001.
I thought it was 2000, 2001.
the AL is
Or
the,
no.
Diamondbacks won in 01.
99
what
and
happens
2000, I
right
think.
the AL is the toughest, is the more tougher conference, the more tougher
Division.
league.
Okay, league. Yeah.
The AL West is very competitive. Texas has been great. Seattle, down the stretch, they kicked it up a notch, and they've been pesky throughout the whole post All-Star break. Look, I know a little baseball. I can talk now. The Astros, they didn't come up and rise to the occasion. Now y'all are still in a playoff spot, and you'll still get there. I firmly believe you'll still get there. Whether it's the 5 or the 6, still, y'all be fine. Y'all will be fine. Y'all will make the playoffs, and y'all will probably make the ALCS. The Rangers aren't that good.
I like the situation that the Astros have if they get the 6th seed. They get the last wild card. You go against Minnesota.
I don't want that.
Minnesota's awful.
I would rather play Minnesota than Tampa Bay.
I'd rather have that one. I'd rather have those days off.
Okay, but
Oh.
I don't want to play.
What do you mean?
If we end up with
What are
the
you
5,
talking
we're
about?
playing Tampa
Come on,
Bay.
man. What are you talking about?
Well, who doesn't want the day? I mean, you're stating the obvious.
So why? So I don't. But I don't want. I don't want to have to go on the road to Minnesota, and I don't
But
care.
you don't deserve it. You don't deserve it. You don't deserve it. So you have to do it.
You're taking.
You're
taking my statement out of context.
Y'all are the defending champions. You should be able to go to Minnesota, who is not that good, and whoop up on them. You should. You should be able
Exactly.
to. Yep.
My thing is here, and again, I'm not
Oakland,
trying to.
the Oakland
I'm
situation.
just trying. I'm trying to look at this from a rational standpoint. It makes sense if we are the 6th seed. You play Minnesota. Granted, you win that series, you have to go to Baltimore, and they are just. I'm going to give all the credit in the world to Baltimore. It very well could be an Orioles and Braves World Series this year. It
Also,
very well could
hey,
be, which
hey.
I can get behind
Camden
that.
Yards. Love
Camden
it.
Yards, beautiful place.
Shout out to Colton Cowser.
Yes,
and
'cause
Ryan O'Hearn.
I believe is Cowser going to get called up for the postseason roster? I don't know.
No one knows.
O'Hearn's been mashing.
O'Hearn's been great. Former Bearcat, both of them former Bearcats, so that's great to see.
Yeah. You know what? National League. I don't think the National League is cut and dry for the Braves. Dodgers, no way. Dodgers suck. Okay, and we're against the whole sexual abuse type thing. Julio Arias, bad guy.
I mean, the Dodgers are at 98
The
wins.
Philadelphia
Go on.
Phillies.
They're
They
getting
are
hot
the,
again.
they are the team to look out for. They are getting hot at the right time, and it's not always the best team in baseball. It's the hottest team. They are the team to look out for.
And I will.
Funny, it's like I did not say that earlier.
Did you?
Just because you're the best team in the regular season doesn't mean you're going to. That, in my mind, you're not the outright favorite.
See now.
No one's
Who's the favorite?
No one's a favorite.
Who's your favorite?
In my opinion, no one's a favorite in the playoffs because anything can happen. It's just like the NCAA basketball.
Well,
tournament.
you're just cutting corners there.
How am I cutting
I mean,
corners?
He
I'm
makes
being,
a point.
I'm being
he
for
makes
real.
a point because look what Philadelphia did.
There's
last
always
year.
a favorite.
That look what. Okay, if you really want to look at it from a practical standpoint, the odds-on favorite is Atlanta. They are the odds-on favorite to win the whole thing. Baltimore's right behind them. Then I would put the Dodgers third favorite. Tampa Bay's the fourth favorite, and then it's just a hodgepodge from there through the rest of the teams that are going to make the postseason.
I mean, no one expected what Philadelphia to do what they do.
I'm not disagreeing with you. That was shocking last year how they tore apart Atlanta.
No one expected Texas to do what they're doing this year, and here they are.
Come on, y'all were
look,
expected to do something like this.
No,
come
no.
on. For the signings that. For the signings y'all got, for the signings,
This
for
was
the,
a
for
this
the
was a
players,
roster built for 2024, and I'm going to give Texas credit. They've done what they've had to do to stay relevant this entire
And you
way.
know what?
They had a 6.5 game lead earlier in August, and they blew that. And I thought, oh, okay, this is what I thought it was going to be. They were going to get a huge lead in the division. They were going to blow it away, but they're still in the fight.
They got back.
I thought this was going to be a Houston and Seattle trip the whole entire way after we saw what Seattle did last year. It hasn't been the case. Then you got the crap show that's in Anaheim right now. I thought they were going to be somewhat relevant
They
this
are
year.
awful.
Boy, was I wrong.
They are so bad.
And
Hey, I'm just saying. I am just saying.
Tech guy Luke.
At this point, when I said that the Astros don't deserve to make it, it's because they're not acting like it. It's like we constantly start. One of our best bats is on the bench more than our worst hitter, in Maldonado.
you got to think about this.
I
too.
don't want to hear anything about veteranship anymore.
I'm not even talking about that.
and I don't want to hear about pitchers preferring him.
I
You
don't.
do
I'm
not-
not even.
you
Colin,
do
don't
not-
put words
you-
in my mouth.
you do-
I'm talking about this.
You
You
do
have to
not
remember at the end of the
deserve-
day, Yiner is having a great year. I will give him that. But at the end of the day, he is a rookie.
Hitting and defensively, he is 10 times better than Maldonado.
I know you keep saying that, but I think that's not our biggest problem. Our biggest problem is our pitching.
I think
our pitching is dog water right now.
I think it is one of our biggest problems because whenever we have our death lineup that I like to, call it when it's neither when Maldonado's not in there.
You can't rely on one batter to try and lead this team. It is a team sport.
If one piece of the puzzle is not there and it's a bad piece of the puzzle, then the whole puzzle doesn't fit.
That doesn't make any sense when it comes to baseball.
I think it kind of does because you take one player out of your lineup that is really good, and the offense is not on pattern or whatever word I'm trying to say.
Okay, so obviously y'all aren't going to be able to hear me all that well, but they will, so that's all that really matters. We'll just put it on you just so you can get the reaction. Okay. Here's the thing. As you and I have discussed on this podcast all season long, right? Like you said, I didn't think the Rangers would get to the postseason this year. I thought they had a lot of really good additions, but I thought this was a start of a building block for next year to then have the continued success, right? And I figured that, and I said early on in the year that when they had the early lead and they started to, be consistent, that's the main thing they've been all year, has been very, very consistent. And I will give them all the credit in the world for that. And I said it early on in the season, starting from, June on, whenever we started doing this podcast. I've given them their flowers. They've shocked a lot of people with the early year of success, and this has been the team to beat in the West. That's been the main thing. Whether it's
you don't make moves like they made.
Wrong.
You do not make moves like they made to have little to no expectations.
No, you play. You could. I mean,
here's
you play to win the game. First of all, the bullpen. Everyone knows in the playoffs, the bullpen. That's the most crucial part. Look, the Rangers bullpen, they're awful. They suck. They're not going to go anywhere. But they hit. And when you have Marcus Semien and Corey Seager, Josh Young, who should be Rookie of the Year if he didn't go out the whole
that I will
4
agree.
months. I mean, the dude was a stud. Jonah Heim, Adolis Garcia. Look, don't be hating on the Rangers. They're not a threat. Okay, I'm a Rangers fan. I'm telling you, they're not a threat. Their pitching is awful because of DeGrom. Injuries, the bullpen, the closer. I mean, Leclerc is awful, but y'all are better. You can't. I mean, pitching is y'all's issue. It's the same thing. It's the same exact thing.
It was not the issue it was not an issue at one point.
No, it's the issue right now.
It's the issue right now.
Here's the thing.
And I'll say it right here. The JV trade, I don't think it was worth it.
So here's the thing.
No,
right?
no.
Here's the thing.
No.
Here's the thing.
We could have gotten better pitching. We could have gotten more better pitching if it
was that the Corey Lee deal.
No, that was the Drew Gilbert deal.
But I understand what happened because the trade market this year was very inflated because of how many teams are in the playoffs this year.
Yes, saturated.
Whatever the word is.
So okay.
I just think they could have gone somewhere better, in my opinion. I wish we went the route the Rangers did and got Jordan Montgomery and Chris Stratton.
What?
I really thought at the time I thought those were the two pitchers I wanted. I wanted Chris Stratton because he fit the Astros.
Aaron
Savali and Cisse, wasn't it?
Okay,
at the deadline.
Just because I name one player that I want doesn't mean I don't want.
Yeah.
Just because it's one player I said I want doesn't mean I don't want other players. I liked Aaron Savali because he has control under his belt that the Astros don't have to worry about. The problem with the JV contract is that even though that the Mets are eating up a lot of it, you're going to have to make some tough decisions after 2024.
So
to bounce off your point, and
you got rid of Drew Gilbert, who I thought was going to be really great.
And I've talked about you with this and a bunch of other people. I said from last December, the Astros did not do enough when it came to getting pitching. They did not do enough. We've seen Lance McCullers struggle coming back from injury. He had a good little start once he came back from his Tommy John, but he has not been the same pitcher. You're not expecting him to right away.
That's not
but
him,
it's the fact that he's not the same pitcher as he once was. So you have to make adjustments with that spot alone. Yes, we do still have other talent in the rotation and in the bullpen, but it's not enough. The thing
about it is you're not asking him to be a number one right now.
No, and that's the thing. You're not. And that's the thing. You have to find other pieces to be a number one, especially when, like I said, I thought the pitching depth was good, but I didn't think it was enough. because all of a sudden somebody gets hurt. Lance McCullers gets re-injured. Luis Garcia out for the year. Now you're very thin, and so that's why I think the Justin Verlander trade was worth it, because you needed to get some kind of depth and stability in your rotation. The other problem is I did like the trade for Graveman because it gave something on the back end of the bullpen. I personally would have loved to see the Astros go after the guy from Pittsburgh. I don't know why I'm Bednar. David Bednar.
He's way too expensive.
He's very consistent. That's the main thing I was focused on. I didn't really
too-
care about
too
the money.
expensive.
It was more the consistency. And that was my thing. I would have loved to see it. I knew it probably wasn't going to happen because of the money, but that was my main thing,
It's
was
not the
getting
money.
consistent back-end pitchers. And while Presley is consistent, he's had his struggles throughout the year. And when it comes to the postseason, you need to have 2-3 guys you can rely on in short-term situations.
And the big question is the fact of the matter at the root of all of this is the Astros. They got to handle their business against Arizona, and Arizona's not going to roll over here and just take it, because they're in the fight of their own lives as well, trying to get back into the postseason on the National League side. And I wanted to look at that real quick. They are only a game and a half ahead.
They're a fun team
of Miami now.
They're still fighting for. They could have clinched the playoff spot last night against the White Sox, but they lost. So
They currently hold the 2 seed in the wild card.
They're still going to put up a very big fight against the Astros.
And because you have to think about this too, the Cubs and somehow by the skin of their teeth, Cincinnati is still in the fight for a wild card spot with Miami in that mix. The
Padres are still in the run for a spot.
It is 4 teams vying. Yeah, 3.5, but there's 3 games left.
The third
There's 3
wild card
games
spot.
left,
So
they're out.
Yeah.
So it's 4 teams vying for 2 spots that are remaining in the wild card on the National League side. So Arizona knows they have a tall task in front of them. Here's the thing: they're in front of their home crowd against the Astros.
right.
They
Every
wanna play,
advantage
They
is
want
for
to play
Arizona.
spoiler. It's going to happen. Personally, I don't. Personally, this was me, and I'm going to stand by this. I said this 2 weeks or a week ago, whenever the Astros started to have their struggles. Because, come on, you have 8 games against Oakland and Kansas City combined, and you won 2. You won 2 games against some of the worst.
Hey, that was
teams.
Maldonado's fault. That was Maldonado's fault.
That is 2 wins out of. I think actually no. I think it was more 10 games against Oakland and Kansas City. You won 2 games against the 2 worst teams in Major League Baseball. That's not
One
on
of
the
which
fault
being
of
in your own division.
That is not the fault of the hitting. That's pitching. Because Oakland and Kansas City, can you name one good guy in Oakland's lineup? One good. Okay. Besides him, can you name one good guy in Kansas City's lineup other than maybe the recycled remains of Salvador Perez,
Bobby Witt Jr.
and Bobby Witt,
and Zach Geloff, by the way. No.
Zach Greinke.
Show some respect with Zach Geloff
Zach Greinke.
on Oakland.
Astros legend.
in the batting lineup.
Yeah.
In the batting.
Oh.
In the batting lineup, I can't name outside of Bobby Witt Jr.
Bobby Witt Jr. Colleyville Heritage, Texas.
I mean,
high school.
I like Vinny Pasquantino for the Kansas City Royals, but
God.
unfortunately he's out.
But
You don't even know who that is.
Yes, I do.
Here's
Yes, I
the
do. I know
problem.
good names. When
they're
I see one,
54
I know who that
and
is.
105 right now. And Oakland's 49 and 110, which is
and
going to be
guess
one of
what?
the worst records in Major League Baseball since the 2003.
And guess what? That's when I
Tigers.
started saying we're playing like we don't we're playing like we don't deserve to go to the postseason.
And that brings me to my point. I kind of half hope we don't make it. And that hurts me as an Astros
I
fan.
mean, I still hope we do, but I would.
That hurts me as an Astros fan.
But you know,
But my thing is, if we make it to the postseason somehow by the skin of our teeth, I don't see us going.
Y'all will make the postseason. Y'all will beat the Rangers when you play against each other in the postseason. Inevitably, it will happen. That's just how these things work.
Also, that'd be such a fun series.
It will, and I'm rooting for it. I don't care. I'm a Rangers fan, but I really don't care who wins.
I think
I want to see that. I want to see that playoff series. That'd be awesome.
I think for the Rangers fans that may be listening, I think the fact that y'all are basically a game away from winning the division.
We were 1 out away last night.
Yeah, exactly. So the fact that y'all are a game away from winning, basically a win away from the division, is astounding.
If you would have asked me that a month ago, whenever Texas was on their slide down to the bottom of the league, I would have taken that. And you know what? No DeGrom, no Scherzer. Evaldi was out for like a quarter, half of the year. I mean, you were rolling your 4 or 5 guys, 6 guys, and they stepped up. They stepped up. Montgomery, good addition. You talked about it. I love him. He's a good player. Chapman, Some good, some bad.
Should not be pitching in the 8th or 9th.
Wrong.
Unless-
He's a setup guy. He's a setup guy. He's not a closer. He's a setup guy.
You want a guy that can throw 100, 102
Oh,
in
yeah.
the setup spot.
Oh yeah. I know baseball. Unlike Colin, he said that I don't know baseball. I know a little bit about baseball. Just a little jab there. Anyways, look.
I mean, hey, do you think I'm crazy to say thankfully for Maldonado and Diaz, their at bats are getting even, but I don't know. I would think
This guy's
you
still
know,
a Maldonado.
I don't know. I just would think put this behind the plate and hitting 193, batting average 262 on base percentage, 616 OPS. I mean,
Colin.
I don't know. I might be crazy, but I think I would rather go with the 282 batting average,
Here's the
23 home runs, 60 ribbies.
Colin, y'all lost the series to the Royals.
Hey, I
and
don't
the
know.
A's.
In my
And
opinion,
that's
that's a
not
lot of
Maldonado.
offense you're missing. That's a lot of offense you're missing out, and defense because Diaz
Tucker was raking.
and Diaz, by the way, way
Here-
better.
Here's
at
the problem.
defense.
Here's the problem.
Way better.
Statistically and historically, you do not win ball games with your catcher. You do not.
I mean, weren't y'all guys talking about?
It comes down to the pitcher and the catcher, yes, but you don't win games solely on the play of your catcher.
Defensively.
There are 9 guys that are in the lineup. There are 9 guys in the defensive alignment. It is not just on the catcher. We struggled to hit as a unit against Oakland and Kansas City. This is not the fault of Dusty Baker. Is there a little bit of mismanagement? I'll give you that much, but I don't think Yiner putting him in there is going to make that huge of a difference when we're sitting 87 and 72 with 3 games left in the season.
Credit to Colin, the lineup inconsistency that bugs me. If I'm an Astros fan,
Thank you.
that
Thank
is
you.
the most annoying thing. Because whenever you had what was the other guy's name?
AJ
The
Hinch.
cheater, AJ Hinch. It was the same exact thing every time, and you knew what you were getting. Correa. I mean, you had that whole lineup going. With the Astros now, it's like we just keep flip-flopping spaces. That being said, a former MVP, Abreu. Former MVP, Jose Altuve. World Series MVP, Rookie of the Year, Jeremy Pena. Silver Slugger, Gold Glover, I think. Both. Alex Bregman.
Yes.
Brantley. Jordan. Tucker. The issue is not hitting. The issue just has not been hitting. It's been your pitching. That's it. That's the end of the story.
It's pitching, and like we were saying, the fact that for the first 150 games of the season, there was 140 different lineups. That's not going to get it done, period. So it's a lot of
Has a team.
Who puts together the lineup?
It's a lot of a little, right?
We're siding with you on that. We're siding with you on that. But we're not.
I just don't.
It's not 100%.
Hey,
partly on him.
I'll be happy if we win the World Series again. I just can't help but ignore the problems that I personally see. And it's okay if y'all don't. That's totally fine. The problem is just I think we only won the World Series last year is because of talent. And it was amazing. Breaking the postseason bullpen ERA record. Our hitters doing what they do. The pitching was on point when it needed to be.
Is Stanek the most talented pitcher?
Where's that coming
Is
from?
Montero the most talented relief pitcher? Is Neris?
At the
is
time,
Abreu?
it was, yes.
Nope. That's not talent. That's not talent. That's just getting hot. That's hot. That's just getting hot.
Are we giving Dusty praise then for letting him get hot?
He rolled with his hot guys.
We cannot.
He recognized that.
He
think
was
any
blessed
baseball
to have.
coach
He
can
was
do that.
blessed to have the talent that he had on the team, and you can give part of that credit to Jeff Luhnow. You can also give a lot of that credit here to Dana Brown.
No part. It's not a part of Jeff Luhnow. It's mostly Jeff
AJ
Luhnow.
Hinch too.
It's most of Jeff Luhnow. Everything that Jeff Luhnow did when he first got to the organization as the GM, everything he did, he tore it down, rebuilt it brick by brick, and it led to 2017 and this golden era of Astros baseball. It's just a shame that the league blackballed him.
I'll give you that. But
Good point.
But here's the thing too. The point I'm trying to make here is that the pitching is not where it's supposed to be. We can't keep looking at last year. Sure, we won a World Series. I can die happy as a diehard Astros fan. We won a World Series that doesn't have a big fat asterisk next to it. We're not going to win it this year because our pitching is not where it's supposed to be. Our starting pitching is not where it's supposed to be. Our rotation right now, as of this moment, Hunter Brown, JP France, who, by the way, great surprise this year. That was really cool to see
Hunter Brown's a
him
bum,
playing
though.
well.
Hunter
Hunter Brown's a
awful.
bum. Christian Javier, he's
You
been
can't-
up and down this
y'all
year.
can't-
Fromber's Fromber's supposed to be our ace, and he is
Where-
having a not so great year outside of having a no-hitter this year. And JV is antiquated.
Okay, but why is it with rookies that we're calling them bums already? Like that's
Hunter
not.
Brown's not a rookie.
He's technically a rookie this year.
He's
All I heard was on that group chat that we're in whenever I joined Astro Spaces, just to listen, not to troll, just to listen. Credit to me. All I hear is Hunter Brown's the next Justin Verlander. He looks,
Did I,
he
s-
he
did
looks
I
just
say
like him.
did I say that personally?
I think so.
probably.
I think so.
I did not ever
I'm
s-
sure
I
I
Wow,
said
look at his
he-
mechanics.
I said he
look
looks
at his
like
mechanics. Look at his
he-
mechanics. Look
he-
at his numbers in the
That's
minors.
That's
Look at all this,
mechanics.
this.
That's mechanics. Okay, and guess what? Spoiler alert: rookies are not always going to do good in their first year. I don't get this whole.
We're not
thing.
expecting that, but
Unless
he
you're
hasn't
Gunnar
been.
Diaz.
But he hasn't. Yeah, or JP France.
Hey, I'm just saying.
I
we,
think
we,
this
we
is
took away a
look.
lot of offense when we weren't starting Chas McCormick a lot to begin the year.
I agree with that. I
can get
We
behind
also
that.
we also missed a lot of offense when we weren't starting Yonder Diaz a lot more often, and defense. Maldonado at one point, and I don't know if he still does, but he probably does. He led the league in pass balls with 9, and it was not even close. He is a relic of his.
How
past
many of those
years.
pass balls led to runs?
Wow.
What
I
are you
mean,
talking about? Pass
that's
balls
just
by the run.
that's-
9 pass balls. How many of those pass balls
Having
led
pass
to
balls
runs?
at all is bad, no matter the situation.
It's part of the game. It happens.
Okay, well, I mean, I don't know what to tell you then, because I think pass balls are bad no matter what. No matter how big you're winning, no matter how bad you're losing, they are
What about
always bad.
Altuve and the whole Kyle Tucker, Alex Bregman situation? 2 pass balls in one game.
That's not,
The errors
yeah,
that they made
errors.
the
They're
other
pass
night.
balls. They're pass balls.
And errors are part of the game as well. But as a catcher, pass balls are not supposed
Point
to be
proven.
that
Thank
often.
you. Point proven.
Pass balls are not supposed to be that often. As a
Point
catcher,
Carlos.
as a
How many
catcher,
how many games has he played this year? How many games has he played this year?
Point Carlos.
Maldonado.
Yes.
Okay, I'll look that up.
How many games has he played this year? He has 9 pass balls.
And that was
In-
early. That was earlier in the season.
I didn't think they were
by
trying
the
to
way.
let
Exactly.
the first
He's
take
not
this
having
episode,
it right
Jordan.
now.
Look, I can look it up right now.
How many?
All right.
Look, tell me
MLB
right now.
pass-
How many games has he played this year? And
Jordan.
if he's got 9 pass balls,
Jordan, let me ask you a question. What's
Of
the
course,
issue?
you have to subscribe to some. Okay,
Uh,
there we go.
First of all,
Oh,
what should
yeah. Look at that. Marty Maldonado leads the American League in pass balls with 12. That also leads all of MLB.
First of all, Jordan, what should
That's
you do
2
to
years in
listen
a
to
row, by the way, that he
podcast
leads
more?
the league in pass balls.
So in order
To listen to this podcast more, you should subscribe to the channel first off.
Okay.
And then turn on post notifications.
Awesome.
So that way, whenever it goes up, you know when it's up.
Awesome. Another question.
Yes.
What is the issue? Pitching or Maldonado?
I think it's a culture thing.
Culture thing?
thanks, Dan Snyder.
Culture thing? Y'all won the World Series last year. It's not a culture thing. It's the
mean,
same players.
I just
It's the
don't-
same
I
players.
Just, I mean, as much like I said, I'll give Dusty a lot of credit. I'll give Maldonado his credit as well for what he did in 2020 because he was put in a very crappy situation. But hey, when you're on record in the offseason saying when there's a potential deal for a better catcher coming in for the Astros, that and you say
Corey Lee?
Wilson Contreras.
Oh.
Like there was a reported deal in the makings in the offseason, and guess what Maldonado was recorded saying to Chandler Rome, who at the time was the Houston Chronicle beat writer for the Houston Astros.
What do you say?
He said he would not accept a backup role. Is that really a guy you want on your team that's so insecure about his spot on the team? Like he wouldn't accept at least a backup role?
That's being called a world champion. That's called being a Gold Glover.
It's called being the worst hitter on your team and one of the worst in the league.
So 12
mean,
pass
that's
balls
just
and
that's just
114.
unfair.
How's that
and
unfair when
that's-
it's absolute fact?
How many times did Maldonado come up clutch for y'all in the postseason last year
And the year before that.
and the year before that?
the strike him out,
The
throw him
strike
out.
him out, throw him out is probably going to be the best play he's ever made in his career.
This year, though, I thought you said that we can't can't look at the past.
Remember,
I
it's a
thought you
remember,
said
Carlos, it's a culture.
I thought
issue.
you said we can't worry about the past, but I just don't think that Dusty and when Dusty and Maldonado leave, that's when the Astros are actually going to start playing great baseball like they can. and I know they can.
Finish your point on what you were about to say.
Yeah.
I'll finish my point,
Yep.
and then we'll get back to the rest of the
12
playoffs.
passed balls in 114 games. That's less than one a game.
Okay,
Way less than one a game. He's committed 12 pass balls
you're talking
in
about
114
this isn't high
games
school.
this
This
year.
isn't high school. This isn't college. This is major leagues. I would hope you would not be averaging one pass ball per
Then
game.
don't make the point that pass balls are the freaking problem.
That just shows how bad of a defender he is.
12 pass balls in 114 games.
He leads.
He's
I mean,
not
this
having a
is-
pass
he
ball
leads-
every
this is
game.
silly.
He
This is
leads the
absolutely
league, by
silly,
the way.
Jordan.
He leads the league in pass
bullcrap.
balls.
Disgusting.
It
It's
ain't bullcrap
bullcrap.
when he's. I'm sorry. I'm looking at Baseball Reference
He
right
is
now.
not the reason why we are in the position we are in right now.
You're right. He's one of the reasons.
This is a rubbish argument you're making.
It
I'm
ain't
gonna
a
say
rubbish
this.
argument when I've watched this team and had conversations in depth about this team with other people, and I've done my own
You
research.
need to stop hanging out with Justin Hardcastle. That's what you need to do first off.
Shout out to Justin Hardcastle.
Love you, buddy.
I'm going to say this, and then we're going to move on quickly to the rest of the playoffs, and then probably take a break.
Probably.
Oh, there ain't no break for this guy next week.
So here's the
I'm
thing.
fired up, man.
I can
here's
tell.
the thing. Here's the thing, right?
I woke you up.
I'm going to make this point, and then we're going to get off the Astros because we've been on them for probably about 25 minutes now. To answer your question, Luke, about what the problem is, there is a lot of different areas where the problem has been this season. Your question specifically about pitching or Maldonado. There has been a lot more issues when it comes to health and consistency out of the rotation and the bullpen. Yes, Maldonado is having a down year, and there is a guy who will eventually become the starting catcher for the Astros in Yainer Diaz, who is having a tremendous year and is 4 home runs away from tying the Astros rookie record for home runs in a single season.
So why isn't he the main starter right now?
Because of
We're
partly,
missing
listen,
offense.
listen.
Missing offense and
partly, it is partly because, like it was pointed out, I think it was by you, that Maldonado does not want a backup role. I'm fine with that for right now because this is probably his last year in the sport. Let's be honest. He's on a contract year. This is the end of his contract. He will either become an unrestricted free agent and sign somewhere else, or he's going to retire. The Astros more than likely will not bring him back because of the fact that they have Yainer right behind him, and what seems like he's ready to go. Now, they do still need to address other issues. There's been health issues for the entire team all season long.
I mean, the whole Brantley circus is just awful. It's annoying at this point.
It is. And the whole Brantley situation has been a huge debacle because it's created so many issues in the outfield, partly with Chaz not getting enough starts in the beginning, the rumored issues between him and Dusty, which have been squashed many times by Dusty Baker himself.
Arguably the second best player in the playoffs last year, behind Jeremy Pena for the Astros, Chaz McCormick.
But he ain't big boy apparently.
So,
He
and
ain't a big boy.
here's the thing, right? There's that.
That's a good shout.
There's Dubon, who's been playing pretty decently. He's been a little inconsistent at times, but also he's trying to get
Gets a
used to
little-
the speed of the game.
Gets a little too much hate in my opinion.
That's the thing. He's still a rookie, is he not this year?
No. Dubon's been in the league a couple of years.
That's
He's been
right.
the Giants.
He just hasn't had as much
James
playing
Click
time.
traded
He
him.
doesn't
So-
have as much service hours.
Right.
James
not
Click
not as
traded
much.
him for Michael Papierski, however you say that.
Papierski.
We won that trade.
So here's the thing. At the end of the day, there has been a lot of different factors that have been the reason why the Astros have not been what they've been for the last 6-7 years, which was almost a guarantee every year to get 100+ wins. And a easy shoe-in for the number 1 seed in the American League, easy shoe-in for the ALCS. There's been a lot of different factors that have contributed into that. And then other things, as I mentioned earlier, as we've all mentioned.
How many times have y'all been to the World Series?
In the
in
last,
the past, since 2015.
since 2015, there's 17, 19,
21 and
20,
22.
21, 22.
Now, how many pennants?
2.
How many AL West
No.
division titles?
17,
6.
18, 19.
No, not
21.
18.
Not 20.
We didn't make the playoffs in 18. Sorry, I'm thinking 16. Never mind.
I was about to say we
Yeah,
did definitely make the playoffs
17,
in
18, 19, 21, and 22.
Yeah.
5
Okay.
AL West titles.
You can't. I mean, you can't repeat that. You just
No.
can't.
No.
It's hard to do that unless you're the Yankees with Derek Jeter and A-Rod and all those boys. It's
Yeah.
hard. It's hard.
And
to repeat
Mariano
that.
Rivera, the
It's-
greatest closer in baseball history.
Yeah, maybe.
Yes, he is. But
Very.
anyway, but yes, we have 4 pennants.
Yes. So
But
that's the thing.
You just can't. It's okay. It's okay. Everyone loses.
Now,
It's okay.
I will say this, and you can dog on me a little bit on this, Carlos.
I'm totally fine with losing. I'm
So-
just pointing out the
So,
facts.
so here's the thing,
my
right?
opinions at least.
You can dog me on this, Carlos. I said it going into this season. You already know where I'm going with this. That's why I'm putting the camera on you. And I did not realize I've said this every year for the last, 4 years now?
Yes.
I said it on this podcast that this probably is the final year of the golden era.
It's okay. It's okay. It's been great.
We said that
It's
the
like I
last
said.
2
it-
years.
Wrong.
He's said that.
Apparently
since
I've said it
28
since
Since
2020.
I've known Jordan Brian
Okay.
Smith, it has been.
First off, how
Every
dare you use my middle name in vain?
Hey.
Second off,
I didn't know that was Brian.
yeah.
He's
very
got a
basic.
memorial desk in the Houstonian office to prove it.
Yeah.
It's still there, by the way.
I know the sticker too. It's great. But speaking of which, where's my witch hat?
It's in your office. I gave it to you.
I know. I gotta go find it later.
Oh,
That's
Story
what-
for another day.
that's what
But
that's why it's important.
Yes.
Oh.
But point
being, at some point the run's gonna end, right? And this we've seen this with all teams. You pointed it out, Luke. The Yankees have not been what they once were, and what everybody in our generation has known them to be since 2009.
Think about this for a second. I wanted to point this out because, this will likely be the American League field for the playoffs this year. I never thought I'd ever say this. Baltimore, Texas, Minnesota, Tampa Bay, Toronto, and either Houston or Seattle.
And the thing
New
that
York and
yeah.
Boston are not in the playoffs this year. Thank God. Thank God.
so
Only thing that would make that better if the Dodgers were out of the NL West or
Right.
the NL
right.
entirely.
I mean, look
So-
at the National League side too. It's going to probably be Atlanta, the Dodgers, Milwaukee, Philadelphia, Arizona, and I have the Cubs over Miami and Cincinnati at this point. So that's even an astounding field. You don't see a San Francisco in the mix. You don't see a St. Louis Cardinals in the mix there. You don't see the New York Mets.
Padres.
That too.
I said this early on in the season when we were specifically talking about the Rangers and their consistency and seeing what the Orioles had done to start the year. This is that point, and you see it every 6 years or so, where you see a changing of the guard in baseball, where you see new teams rise to the top and the old teams start to falter because at the end of the day, you can't keep up that consistency as much as you would love to.
Texas was the kings of that the later 2000s and early 2010s. Who came right after them?
Yeah,
Houston.
The Astros. And that's
happens.
the
It
thing. Yeah,
happens.
it's the changing of the guard in baseball right now. That's why the Orioles have a 159 record. Love me my loud bird noises, first off. But, in the Rays, they've been consistent over the last 4 years now.
I would say since 2019.
Yeah, since 2019. They've been very consistent. They've been up there at the top every year. And it's weird because the Orioles took till now to win the division, and they have 100 wins. That shows you how good Tampa Bay is with 97 wins on the season. The Central is the Central. It's a laughingstock of a division for now until Hinch figures out the Tigers.
I mean,
second
Detroit's
place.
Detroit's going to probably come away with second place in that division. They're on a hot streak right now with 4 games winning.
By the way-
If they weren't so bad in that one stretch before the All-Star break, they'd be in it.
By the way, shout out to Tito. He retired.
Yeah.
It's-
Tito Francona.
It was a nice little send off that Terry Francona had at the last home game for the Guardians, just a couple days ago, that they had a whole tribute and everything. It was a very nice send off. So congrats to him, multi-time World Series champion, especially with his days in Boston. Great manager, one of the better ones that I think we've seen in the last 30 years or so in the sport of baseball. But to wrap up this whole discussion, no matter who makes it to the playoffs, this is going to be one hell of a playoff race. This is going to be a fun October baseball to watch with all of these new teams rearing up. You mentioned it earlier, watching playoff baseball on Camden Yards for the first time in how long now?
Since
2016?
No, 16. They were
What,
they,
14,
they were in Toronto.
15?
I would say 14.
It was that Adam
Yeah.
Jones triple.
It was,
Yeah.
It was in 2014.
I know baseball.
When it wasn't Adam Jones, that was Delman Young.
Look,
In
Hand up.
2014 was the last time
I
they
was
had
12.
baseball.
I just want to hear Brian Anderson on TNT at Camden Yards.
Yes.
That is all I want, and my life is complete and happy.
Well,
That's all I want.
We can all agree on one thing that this MLB season has brought us. It has brought us a lot of parity, and it's really great to see. Again, New York and Boston not in the playoffs. Thank goodness. And 3, we can all agree on this one thing. The Los Angeles Angels are the worst franchise in all of Major League Baseball. You have the two best players in all of baseball, and you are 71-88.
Question. I
Um,
want to know out of
season.
y'all's opinions, y'all are Astro fans, who would you rather have as manager right now, AJ Hinch or Dusty Baker?
AJ Hinch.
I would probably say AJ. And that's not me sliding on Dusty at all. It's just he should have probably retired when they won the World Series this past year.
My thing, I would go with AJ just because he can facilitate the offense a little bit better than Dusty can. But I'm on the same boat as Jordan. Dusty should have retired after the World Series win last year because
Would have been a good send off.
it would have been a great way to send off what is
Peyton Manning.
going to be what is a Hall of Fame career.
Peyton Manning got to go out on top.
And
Tom Brady.
I just want
Kind of.
I just want to make this clear, by the way. It's not that I'm upset that it's ending. It's just I see this golden era is ending. I'm just seeing these problems that I'm seeing from my point of view, and I just feel like those could be the reasons. The what?
The fan.
The fan in you.
Well, the fan in me and the baseball mind in me is saying that there are just decisions that I just don't understand.
Student of the game.
At least when AJ Hinch made some decisions that I wouldn't like it, but at least I could understand why he would do them. So, but
you'll make the playoffs. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
And
It's not a big deal.
I mean,
You'll get to the AL. You'll get to
We'll
the CS.
probably get to
I
the
am not-
ALCS
I
and get
am-
bounced by Baltimore.
Am I a true fan if I just don't worry that I don't point out the problems that I for myself see? Am I a true fan if I don't see that, if I am critical?
No.
Hey, who wins the division first
Huh?
after this year? Who wins the division first? The Athletics or the Astros?
The Astros. That's comparing apples and oranges.
But yeah,
Sliding franchise. Maybe A's getting a little hot going to Las Vegas.
that is dude.
Especially moving to Las Vegas or
Yeah,
not first.
Oh, actually,
Yes.
They
Whole land dispute issue with
I
all
think
that.
I pointed this out to you. They're the only team in the MLB this year. They did not have an attendance at least 1 million. They at least 830,000. They've had attendance this year.
They had 800,000 people show up to that Coliseum.
It was that protest game that kind of ruined it for them.
awesome.
It was
Also-
it was an awesome protest game.
I'll say this, and then we'll head to break, and we'll talk some
We need a
NFL.
break.
Yeah, we need a break.
We've been talking for a good 40 minutes now.
It's going to be our longest podcast episode of the year, I think.
Yes, it will.
Yeah, you
so,
know why?
Y'all were the ones
Let's
that were just
say
asking
this.
me questions. I mean,
I'm gonna say
Y'all
this,
kept going.
right? I'm gonna say this before we
It's
end it.
Maldonado. It's his fault.
just keep taking my words out of context, buddy.
Here's the thing, right? I'm gonna say this before
I'm gonna get Leopold.
we head to break. God.
Colin, shut up.
Jordan's trying to talk right now, and here you are, just being a little. You know what?
Sorry, Jordan.
So the
Good night. We're going to have to edit that.
no, that's gonna
It's live
say
to
it.
tape.
That's
We
gonna
can't
say
do
it.
that.
I could edit it YouTube, but I don't want to.
Finish your point.
So, the final thing I will say about this, right, is, and I forget who said it, and I had it earlier, and now I've kind of forgotten the point I was going to make, so I'll make a different one. You mentioned earlier the American League is the better out of the two leagues in baseball.
It's like the Western Conference in the NBA.
Exactly. That's
Deeper.
not. It is. That's the thing. It's a much deeper level of competition. When you look at it as a whole, though, and you mentioned it earlier, Carlos, the amount of parity that has happened within this sport this season, on both sides of the ball, both in the American League and the National League, has been very, very fun to watch, especially the Cincinnati Reds finally coming to relevancy in what is probably and for sure the final year of Joey Votto being in a Cincinnati uniform. Ellie De La Cruz kind of taking that torch and taking the franchise. That has been really, really fun to watch. And that's just one storyline out of a bevy of whole things that we could get into, and we have gotten into. The playoffs are going to be fun. This changing of the guard is what's going to make this postseason very exciting. And like you said, if we see an Atlanta versus Baltimore World Series, great. Give me 2 mid-markets in the World Series. I'm perfectly fine with that. Perfectly fine with that. It's just like the NBA when Milwaukee won the finals.
And I
love it.
I think my last point that I'll make is that, this is really good. This is really the end of an era for, at least for me as a baseball fan, because I just pulled up MLB.com again and I see a picture here of Miguel Cabrera, Adam Wainwright, Zach Greinke, and Joey Votto. 4 guys that I grew up watching play baseball in their prime. And yes, all 4 will be in the Hall of Fame at one point or not. Votto's probably one that might be the outlier, but for sure Miggy, Waino, and Greinke will be in the Hall of Fame.
Triple Crown.
So this is really the end of an era for a lot of fans that grew up in the 2000s watching baseball. We're seeing guys that, they're just not playing ball anymore. And I believe we're already beyond the point, and there's no one left from the 90s. And it's going to come to a point where we won't have anyone left from the 2000s.
If you watched baseball back when the Fox Sports Net scoreboard glitched and made noises, this is the end of your era. That's what this year is. I knew I'd get you on that one.
That takes me back.
So, all right, send us to break.
We need to take a break, folks. I need a bottle of water or maybe whiskey. I don't know what it's going to take, but when we come, I know I can't. When we come back, we'll touch on the NFL and what's coming up this weekend, and we'll get Luke's final note about the Ryder Cup when we come back on the KSAM Sports Podcast.
Cole's runner cutting it back across the 40. Cole's runner 50, 45, 40, 35, 30. Trying to stiff one more man. Oh, he's spun down at the 25-yard line. Butler for 3. Good. Gives it to Twine at the right wing. Deep 3. Got it. It's time. The Hornets are heading to the postseason. Swing and a miss. It's over. Huntsville to the regional quarterfinals.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, here on the KSAM Sports Podcast. Carlos Zimmerman here with Luke Scott, Colin Neal, and why not? Jordan Smith is now with us here again, jumping in the middle of our MLB talk. I think our most heated conversation that we've had on the podcast, and really first heated one I've had in a long time. But that's what we love. That just shows you guys we just love our sports. And now for our final segment here, as we are knocking on the door of 2 hours here on the podcast, time to talk some NFL. Man.
Pause there, by the way.
I know. I had to pause for dramatic effect.
Oh, okay. Just making sure.
Good week of football coming up, it looks like. We already have one game down after last night. Detroit. Never thought I'd say this. 34-20 win over the Green Bay Packers in Lambeau last night. Jordan Love was the dominating quarterback over Jared Goff, but they could not stop the run of David Montgomery. 32 carries, 121 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Detroit is legit, to say the least.
They're a very good team. Their coach, if there's a belief there, I think they got really good players. Amon-Ra, Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery. I like Jared Goff. Jared Goff gets a lot of hate. I think he's a really good quarterback. Smoking hot wife, too, by the way. They're just a good team. And they got a really good – I think their defense is so much – I mean, last year their defense was awful. This year their defense is okay. They'll win the division. I love Detroit. I think they're a really fun team. They're not going to go very far. They're not going to win the Super Bowl or nothing. But they're a fun team. I like Detroit. I like Detroit. And they deserve a good team because they've been awful forever. Mm-hmm. Literally forever.
Even in the Barry Sanders years, they were awful.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, everyone went. I mean, when that trade went down between L.A. and the Rams and Detroit, everyone thought, "Oh, that's it for Jared Goff. He's going to Detroit." And it was one of those. It was known to be one of those places where careers went to die, like Cleveland was for so long. But man, Dan Campbell just comes in and just
Espresso.
How many shots did he say?
So the coffee
He gets is equivalent to 37 cans of cola, and that is his daily morning coffee. It's 4 shots of espresso and like 40 ounces of just straight caffeine and just straight coffee.
My body's shaking just
40,
thinking about that.
Gosh, yeah, I have I'm back and joining up here. Bleacher Report. 40 ounces of coffee, 4 espresso shots a day.
Wow. I had 40 ounces of coffee last night. To stay up.
That is 11. That is 2 venti coffees from Starbucks with 2 espresso shots in each is more than 1,100 milligrams of caffeine. That's the equivalent of drinking 10 Red Bulls every single morning.
That's a scary prospect.
That's Dan Campbell.
My liver is exploding just thinking about that. But yeah, they look really good, guys, and I think they're going to continue this wave of momentum that they're on. But now to transition to the Sunday games, we get an early game on Sunday, the Toy Story game, if you will.
Watch the Toy Story broadcast of
Giles and Leopold are going to be attending the game.
No,
they're going to be. They're going to know a bit. They're going to know the real football.
Did you stutter on your
accent, sir.
Oh, just a little bit.
Okay.
Falcons and Jags at Wembley. Jacksonville coming off of what many people have said is one of their worst losses of the year because they lost to your boys, the Texans.
Finally!
We have a win!
I mean, historically speaking,
we're really good against Jacksonville historically. We'll
10 of the last 11.
yeah, we're really good. And Atlanta, I mean, Desmond Ritter's serviceable, but and Bijan's Bijan, but beyond that,
they're pesky. They're a pesky
They
team.
are.
I think their defense is actually pretty good. Arthur Smith, head coach, one of the best play callers, I think. You ask Tyler Algier, Desmond Ridder, yeah, he's not great. They got a good offensive line, I think. Bijan is Bijan. You talked about it. This is a good football team. I mean, as of right now, the Bucks, I don't think the Bucks are for real in their division. The Saints, they just lost Derek Carr, so they got Jameis, which, I mean, crab legs.
master of turnovers.
Jameis.
They are losing Derek Carr for a few weeks. It's not as serious as previously thought.
Are the Falcons the favorites in the NFC South?
You would have to think because there's no way that Carolina's doing anything.
No.
No,
young-
for
young
one thing,
Bryce
Bryce Young is
Young.
still hurt.
Yeah, he's out for the next for 1 to 2 weeks. I heard Andy Dalton starting. The Red Rifle.
And that's the thing. Also, how in the world is he 24th all time in passing yards in NFL history?
Because he's been around forever.
He's been around forever, and
Also,
he
those-
was actually half decent
those-
at Cincinnati.
Yeah, I mean,
That constituted 24th all time.
A.J. Brown. Who was that? Giovanni Bernard. Who was the tight end? Jerome
You meant
something.
AJ Green, right?
What'd I say?
You said
The
AJ
tight end
Brown.
you're thinking
Yes,
about.
yes,
The
yes.
tight
AJ
end you're thinking
Green,
about. Your tight end
Jerome-
you're thinking about is Jermaine Gresham.
Jermaine Gresham.
Tyler Eifert.
They had some good guys. They had some good guys back then.
He
And he had a little bit of Tyler Boyd at the very end, or at Boyd's beginning, Dalton's end. He's been around for a while, a long time.
He's had good talent around him always, and that's why he's been able to rack up those yards. You can credit his receivers and like AJ Green for,
He had
amplifying
decent
that a little
yards,
bit.
He had decent numbers with the Cowboys.
Hey,
To answer your question, Luke, yeah, this is Atlanta's division to lose right now because everybody else is just as bad.
The NFC South
And you got the
is
they have
the
best-
AL
they have the best
Central of
rookie.
the NFL.
They have the best rookie in the league right now. So
and going back up,
Yeah.
back up north.
no.
On,
Bijan's that guy.
hey, going back up,
that guy.
We'll
going
see.
back up north. I think this is the game of the week. Broncos and Bears.
I was gonna get to that real quick.
Greatest game.
It's week 4, and I think
Nice
we
shout
have.
out there.
It is week 4, and I think we have 2 tank bowls this weekend. I'm when I watch Urinating Trees sports ball, both of those better be either greatest games or tank bowls in sports ball. So we'll see.
Talking
But
about
yeah,
the Vikings game.
I'm talking about Broncos and Bears and Vikings and Panthers, both of them in the noon hour, obviously. But someone, barring the wildest thing, if they both tie, one of these teams will finally get that first win. And I'm just going to go point blank here and say who I think is going to get their first win. We'll get to Bronco and Bears for a second because, golly.
I
But
already
for the
told you my
Vikings and the Panthers, I think the Vikings get that one on the road
Two if you're
in
Minnesota.
Carolina. It's Andy Dalton at the helm with the Panthers. He's seen better days. Kirk Cousins is not on national television, so he'll play up to the standard that we expect him to play. They'll get that win on the road in Charlotte.
Now does Justin Jefferson.
Should one out because there's been some murmurs over the last couple of days that he's
He's thinking about holding out, but
Yeah, I saw a little. There was a interesting message out there on the Twitter.
Yeah, there was.
He was talking to Mr. C.D. Lamb, and that. Now, I didn't tell you what. You want to get me excited about something? See you, Michael Gallup. This isn't a Cowboys
I should
segment.
have got a close-up camera for him.
See you, Michael Gallup.
Just
Brandon
zoom in
Cooks,
slowly.
you're out. Sorry. Actually, see you. Well,
no, you need to have CD on the other side with Justin.
oh
Jefferson.
no, for sure. But like
Gallup,
Jalen Tolbert, you're gone. Like that'd be awesome. That'd be awesome.
Devontae Turpin, Grant, but
I like Turpin.
But the thing is, the Vikings will win that game against Carolina this weekend. Now, as for the other one, the Broncos and the Bears, it's one of those games where, like, can they both lose?
No,
Like,
it's gonna be
my thing, I think my gut tells me Denver because, of the veteran presence. And Justin Fields just does not look good out there right now. There are I think I saw this graphic the other day. There are 8 or 9 quarterbacks since Justin Fields has been drafted that have more wins than him on the field. One of them being Ben Roethlisberger.
They're so bad. The Bears are.
The
so
Bears
bad.
are just so bad, and I do.
Sorry,
I
I'm
need
sorry.
to. I need to admit
that
something
makes
here.
me laugh.
I need to admit something here. When we did our NFL preview, I got a little ambitious
Yeah, you did.
What did you
because
say?
Oh, are you one of these Justin Fields?
I
MVP
got
guys?
It's
pretty
worse.
I got pretty high on Justin Fields saying that they were going to win the NFC North based on the pieces that they brought in, and boy was I shut up after week 1.
No.
I told you that was the worst take you have ever had in your life.
I
And look,
will gladly eat the crow on that
Yeah, at least
front.
he's authentic.
I will gladly eat the crow on that
Unlike some people.
front.
Authentic. What do you mean by that?
We're not getting into that
no,
again.
no, we're in football now.
We're the
You
fact.
know I poked the bear.
Speaking of which, the Bears.
Good segue.
Goodness gracious,
Ah, Bears.
they're terrible.
I'm a chaos guy. I'm gonna say they're gonna tie. I would love.
I would freaking love that. Just as the crap poster that I can be sometimes, that would be freaking great.
Spin zone. Question. Would you rather have Russell Wilson as your quarterback or Justin Fields right now?
Russell Wilson.
In a heartbeat.
Yeah.
In a heartbeat.
Russell Wilson
Yes,
has really
here's
bad
why.
pieces around
Here's
him.
why. Here's why. Yes, he may have bad pieces around him. 2021, his rookie year, he
Fields, that is.
yeah sucked, right?
Right.
Started 12 games, 7 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, right, through 1,800 yards. You got Fields with 17 touchdowns, 11 interceptions the next year, 2,200 yards. It was a little bit of an uptick. This year, 5 to 26 yards, 3 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. All that to say, he has a record in the NFL of 5-23.
Not good.
And yes, I know Russell Wilson has been around longer, and he's been to a Super Bowl and all that.
Two
Yay.
Super Bowls.
2 Super Bowls. But fact of the matter is, I'm taking Russell Wilson over Justin Fields because maybe, even though the Bears have a crappy roster, let's just point blank, Russell Wilson might at least get a win with this Bears roster.
Do you know what Justin Fields' QBR is right now?
25.8.
Some really
Less.
bad.
19.
21.
Jeez.
Oh wait, I have it right here. Yeah, 21.3.
That's terrible. That's just terrible.
Do you
He's been sacked
That's not just
13
terrible.
times already
That's
this
Charles
season.
Barkley. Terrible.
Terrible.
I mean, look at what C.J. Stroud's doing right now, and you can arguably say that there's been this long, history of Ohio State quarterbacks being terrible in the NFL.
Joe Burrow?
He didn't finish at Ohio State.
Just saying.
It's okay, and not a lot of
He's
people.
got
They
he's
claim
he's
him.
got some of
They claim him.
he's got
You ask Ohio State fans, they're delusional.
Yeah,
enough,
and
they'll
so does
claim him.
every Alabama fan that claims that Jalen Hurts is
Oh,
their guy. No, he was an
he
Oklahoma
isn't-
quarterback.
No.
Yeah.
Wrong. False.
No.
Just not right.
I claim him as an Oklahoma quarterback.
You can't claim him. You're not an Oklahoma fan.
I know. I hate them with
I
every
viewed
being
Jalen
fiber of my
Hurts
being.
more
But
in Oklahoma than I did Alabama.
Yeah.
Yes, at one point in Alabama, was Jalen Hurts, Tua Tagovailoa, and Mac Jones on the same team? Yes.
did Jalen Hurts technically start a national championship for Alabama? Yes. And then come in as a backup to win the national championship the next year? Yes.
So,
SEC championship.
but anyway, we're getting off the track here. We're getting off the beaten path here. Either way, Vikings get their first win. I think the Broncos get the win over Chicago on the road at Soldier Field. If they tie, I will cry happy tears.
I'm
for
calling
I
sure.
think
it
it's
right-
a sleepy week this week.
I'm calling
It
it
really
right
is.
now. I'm calling it right now.
I
It's a
don't
tie.
care. I don't care about any game.
Actually, no, Dolphins and Bills.
That's the best game in the early window. Is
You don't
Dolphins
care.
and Bills.
You don't care about Cowboys Patriots?
Well, that's different.
Okay, so
That's
let's-
why I'm asking.
Okay, so before we transition to the late window,
Those are probably the two games I would care about right there.
let's look at the late window here. Or
Fandom,
before we get to
and good teams.
before we get to the late window, we have to talk Steelers Texans because us three Texans fans.
It's Watt Week!
It is Watt
The
Week.
prodigal son has returned.
JJ is getting inducted into the Texans Ring of Honor this weekend with his brother in town, no less.
How many people are in the Texans Ring of Honor?
He will become the third one behind Andre Johnson and Bob McNair.
Yep. He, one, came back to town yesterday. 2, he showed up to training at the Texans facility this morning at 6 a.m. with the training staff. He's not a player anymore.
Whoa! Don't shake the table too much now.
Point is,
All-time
JJ is great. I love JJ. I wish that the franchise, Bill O'Butchin didn't piss him off as much as he did to have him run out the door just like he did D-Hop. But
Bill O'Brien got you division titles. That's a little.
doesn't matter, Brian. AFC South Division champs. Still my favorite line ever. But
Carmichael from the Rice House.
the greatest Hard Knock moment
Yes.
ever. But besides the grandiose and the lore of J.J. Watt week coming off the first win of the season, this is going to be an interesting game. You're back home. You have all the fanfare. You have everything. You have Miko now coming in as a winning head coach with his first win.
And-
yes, they still have a 1-2 record, but
CJ looked great.
he has looked awesome through these first
Betting favorite for
2.5
Rookie of the
games.
Year. Right
Yeah.
now.
He is the
And-
early favorite.
You look at the main thing I'm going to watch for is, one, the health of this Texans freaking offensive line. Because holy cow, they are not healthy. They're probably going to go into it with 4 different starters than their original starters again, because 3 of them are on IR, and Tunsil probably won't play.
I mean, granted,
The Dusty Baker strategy.
Granted, Jags D line is not really the greatest thing ever. But
Steelers,
hey,
you mean?
No, I'm referring to last week. You talked about the O line.
Okay, got it.
But they still gave up 0 sacks, which is still a
But
hard thing to do.
the thing is, the Steelers' defense is better than the Jags.
Yeah.
They have JJ's brother
That's
exactly my point.
That's why I'm
for
saying
the
that
best defensive
Second.
lineman in the league
Third.
and whatever.
Third best.
that's why I'm saying the Jags D line isn't something to flash at, but still
Yeah.
still giving up 0 sacks is still a really good accomplishment after you gave up 11 in the first 2 games.
It is.
So it's going to be a big test. I've been hearing
Fourth,
I've been seeing things that Titus Howard might be back, but there's still some issues. Laramie Tunsil, he's still dealing with a nagging knee issue, so he's probably not going to be participating in this Sunday's contest. So it's going to be interesting. But again,
I think y'all win.
Matt Canada.
I think y'all are going to win.
The Matt Canada offense
They're
is
awful.
so bad. I mean, and I mean our defense is banged out too. But
His offense, or is it Kenny Pickett being the signal caller?
Matt Canada's a very bad coach.
I was waiting for him to flip it on him there. But yeah,
He is an
it's-
awful offensive coordinator.
To
Now, granted,
say-
what
You get Jalen Petrie back.
they managed to do against
Really fair.
the crappy Las Vegas offense that it was. Granted, don't even get me started with the Raiders. Josh McDaniels.
Hey, Jimmy
should-
G's a winner.
He is, but Josh McDaniels should not.
/ minority owner in Tom Brady.
Yes, but here's the thing: the Steelers last week against the Raiders almost
Shout out
lost that
Brady,
game.
have a birthday with him.
Almost lost that game because of the Steelers defense not being able to hold Las Vegas at one point. And then Las Vegas, Vegas did and
The
didn't
fact
win.
the fact that the Steelers have had all these struggles and they're 2-1 says a lot about, and we already knew how good he is, Mike Tomlin. It's in the NFL script every year. He has to have a 500 record or above. That's how they won 6-7 straight games at the end of last year to get him his 500 record. So it's going to be, I think my main thing, and I think everybody's thing, is seeing what this very broken offensive line for Houston does against this front 7 of the Steelers defense and how that is going to fare.
I'd flip
But-
it on the other side.
Really?
Steelers' offensive line is awful. Texans' front 7, they've been good this year. Outside of Baltimore,
I mean, nobody expected us to beat Baltimore. And
I think
do well
y'all's
against them.
front 7's been very surprising.
It has been consistently good in most situations, yes. And I think that's been the pleasant thing is for the first time since D'Amico Ryans was our one of our linebackers, we are having a consistent front 7.
Yes.
I would like to see a lot more from the secondary. Granted, I know half the secondary is out. They're all hurt. I
Denzel
get
Perryman
that.
playing.
Hopefully.
I think he's still questionable. if I'm not
But
mistaken.
hey, we're getting Jalen Petrie back.
That I think is going to be key.
That
Best
will,
player
that
on your
will
team.
help. That will help.
And
Yeah,
along
probably,
with Jimmy,
yeah.
and along with Jimmy Ward coming back last week as well.
Yeah.
That's just
So I think
You know,
I
The
think-
outlier there is Derek Stingley.
Yeah, so I think that's going to be the main thing
But-
is seeing those line and front 7 matchups on both sides of the ball. My focus more offensive side for the Texans. Luke's got defensive side for the Texans, but I don't know. It's going to be an interesting one. As I told you, I'm going to wait to do a whole season outlook of so far until after this week, so I can give each team a fair shot of getting through the first quarter of the year before I make any judgment. Then, kind of transitioning into that, let's talk about the other team that's close by. Cowboys.
Patriots, Cowboys. Of course, 325 on Fox, America's Game of the Week,
Heck yeah.
because you have to have that,
It's America's team.
versus the Patriots.
versus the Pats in Jerry World.
Showdown, if you will.
Yeah, I mean it's Bob Kraft versus Jerry Jones, the 2 most powerful men in the NFL.
And so the Pats have their lone win was on the road, and the Cowboys, of course, have one win at home as well. But Patriots, they're not where they need to be right now, and I just their offense is lacking to me. I know it's a homecoming for Zeke. I know, buddy.
I mean, this is an emotional moment for me because
Dang. Have you made your own tribute video?
I'll think about it.
24 hours later.
Plug Twitter on the screen.
Yeah.
But no, Ezekiel Elliott, growing up a Cowboys fan. I was a closet Cowboys fan because I didn't want to admit it, but I do love the Cowboys. Luke Scott, Luke_Scott03, Twitter. Yep. Or X. Like that. Zeke and Dez are my guys. Zeke's no longer there. Dez isn't there. Love him. The Patriots, that being said, their offense, you're right. They're not very good. They lack explosiveness. They've lacked this for a while now, ever since Brady's gone. Mac Jones, is he that guy? Is he good? Is he bad? Is he okay? Is he? What is he? I think he's right there in the Kirk Cousins range. He's going to win you games. He's not going to win you big games. The running game, not great. The Patriots defense is always going to be very good. It's Bill Belichick. We know what this team is built on. It's structure, it's defense, and it's not losing games. That being said, the Dallas Cowboys completely lost a game last week against Arizona. I mean, y'all watched it. How bad was that?
That was stunning, to say the least.
And
it was stunning for the fact of what happened 2 weeks prior.
And I don't put that. I know. We destroyed the Giants there. We destroyed the Jets, and then we laid a stinker. That being said, the play calling wasn't great. I think anytime you're asking Dak Prescott to throw the ball 40 times a game, that's not what he does.
I think any quarterback
For that matter, let alone Dak.
Unless you're Aaron Rodgers, Brady, or Mahomes, right? Like those are like the three. Like in Manning, maybe. Peyton, that being said, not Eli. That being said, you need a more balanced attack. They need to get Pollard the ball more. They need to get Rico Dowdle the ball more. Then you say, okay, well, the Patriots' run defense, overall defense is very good. I think it's going to be a good game. A bounce-back game, though, for Dallas. I think they're going to come out hot. I think it's going to be a turnover game there. Not for Dak, but for Mac Jones. The defense, they were awful. Last game against Arizona. Also, Arizona game, 3 missing linemen, 2 Hall of Famers, Zach Martin, Tyron Smith. First game back for Tyler Smith, the last year's rookie, will be a Pro Bowler this year, calling it. And Tyler Biadasz, solid center. I think they'll be back. Cowboys roll. It'll be a good game, though.
I agree.
I will say this. Not just because it's in the time slot for America's Game of the Week. This may legit be America's Game of the Week. This might be the best game we see in this Week 4 slate. A very interesting matchup. Like you said, they need to get the ball to Pollard, especially.
He's so good.
A bit more. He is a fantastic running back.
He is so good, and that not so many people. And you go on the letter networks, not KSAM. I'm talking about cable TV. They're under fire right now. They are always on Pollard because it's the Cowboys. They're always on Pollard, saying he's not an every down back. He's not that guy. He's not that guy. Yet all he does is proves he is that guy.
23 carries, 122 yards, an average rush per attempt, 5.3 yards. That from last week. Had a bit of a slow week the week before against the Jets, but Giants, 5 yards per rush, 14 for 70 yards.
And 2 tutties.
Yes.
Like the guys, he is that. He is that guy. I hate that narrative. Cowboys roll. Bills, that being said, the Bills, Dolphins game, love the Dolphins.
Yeah, speaking of that,
They are so fun to watch.
There's a ESPN fantasy thing that should fantasy managers be worried about Tulane Pollard? No.
That's just headlines.
Yeah,
that's
just to back up Luke's point on that.
I appreciate that.
I think this game
Between the Patriots and Cowboys, before we skim through the rest of the games going on in Week 4, Carlos and I talked about this when we did our season preview. Both of these two teams' running back group, especially after the Patriots signed Zeke, is deep. The Patriots have got, it hasn't been the greatest so far this year, but going into the year, they've had 3 guys that you could sit there and go, holy cow, they've got a monster.
They're good players.
And the Cowboys, too, Pollard leading the charge, and like you said, the limited time he has had, that's a decent, one-gamer for anybody. 23 carries over 100 yards and a couple touchdowns. That's a great day for your running back. Probably the one that's going to carry the offense.
He did that all last year, though. He did that all last year, and
that's
still.
The thing.
I mean,
that was other issues with the Cowboys that we don't have to get into right now. But that's a next week conversation.
Yes.
Stephon Gilmore also facing his old team.
Mm-hmm.
That is true. True.
Oh, Trevon Diggs.
Yeah, I wanted to mention that real quick. Like, that is a very big kill. And I was wondering, Luke.
I love Deron Bland, but he's more of a slot guy. Jordan Lewis God bless him.
What's that other one with all the penalties? Brown.
He's gone.
Oh, he is. Oh, he is actually.
Anthony
gone.
Brown is
Anthony
gone.
gone. Okay. Cool.
So
Where's he at right
it's
now?
gonna be a fun slate. It's gonna be.
Practice squad.
It is kind of a lackluster set in week 4 for these games.
I know where my rivals go. I did not like them.
Dolphins and Bills is probably the best game of the early window. I think Texans and Steelers will be a good game, but I think Patriots Cowboys will obviously be the highlight of the week. The Sunday night game between the Chiefs and the Jets, I was kind of half hoping it would get flexed, but I don't think they do that early in this year, so that's not going to happen. And then Seahawks and Giants on Monday Night Football.
I don't understand. I get that Aaron Rodgers was projected to be the supposed to be starting quarterback, but I don't understand why you don't have Bills and Dolphins as the primetime game. I mean, not that he was supposed to be like right now, but he got hurt.
The plan was that I was thinking it was supposed to be Mahomes versus Rodgers. That's why it was slated for that. The flex I don't think starts until week 5 or week 6.
Correct.
I believe.
Correct.
So
They went off script. They went off script.
It's because the whole doubleheader thing to start the year with.
Do y'all like doubleheaders on Monday nights?
Love it.
It's interesting. I like it in the sense for the early season and maybe late season playoff scenarios, but not an every week thing. I really don't think that should be an every week thing. But I think first couple weeks get you in the season, throw a whole bunch of games in prime time, end of the season with big playoff implications, especially with the week 17, like every game is flexible. Mm-hmm. I think that's a good thing. Week 17, week 18, all that, since there's 18 weeks now in the season. Mm-hmm. But yeah, not an every week thing. Also, just to fangirl a little bit more, 3 hours ago, the Texans posted a video of J.J. Watt walking back on the field at NRG. It's majestic. It's awesome. I love it.
It's great to see.
All right. I think it's time for the final note.
It is. And now this is where we turn over the final 5 minutes of the podcast to Luke Scott to rant about the Ryder Cup. That is today's final note.
I'm turning off everybody's microphone. This is Luke and Luke.
No,
only.
I want y'all to be in it.
Okay. Put your headset back on. Right. He requested it. So, Luke.
Look at all my guys. You know that.
The floor is all yours.
The Ryder Cup is one of the best events all year. And what the U.S. did, and Captain Zach Johnson of Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Anyways, what he did with these pairings this morning, I stayed up. I went to class, aced it. Go to the Sam Houston game. Love my Bearcats, even though they lost. Then stay up all night. Ryder Cup. 12:30. Went to class at 11:30. Did not sleep the entire way. And what I saw out of the Ryder Cup, that was awful. Did any of you guys watch it?
I did not know.
You didn't miss a thing. You know why? Because the pairings were awful. Europe, okay, they're playing all their big guns in the first, which is the foursomes, which is alternate shot. I hit, you hit, I hit, you hit. Mm-hmm. That's what they do every year. They're so good at it. We're out there playing Brian Harmon, Ricky Fowler, and Morikawa. Okay, they're good guys, but we need to be playing Brooks. We need to be playing Wyndham Clark, Spieth, my guy, JT. We just got ran over. We got ran over today, and then the pairings came out today, and it's the same old thing. It's the same thing as it was this morning. We're going to get crushed. I went to this thing expecting us to win because we're the USA, and we should win at everything. America, bald eagle. We were so bad. We're so bad. I mean, I don't know what else to say. They can't win. They couldn't. I mean, John Rahm today had like 4 chip-ins. If they don't hit the stick, they're off the green. But he would just hit the stick and go straight in. It was the craziest thing. Europe hit every single shot when they needed to, and it were killers. And the U.S., we can't hit a putt. We can't hit a putt. I mean, they look blind. It's like me out there. Blind. They were blind. Have you seen Colin putt?
No.
They're worse than that.
Okay.
They always say that, any John Daly, on a podcast once said that, anybody can drive the ball like 200, 250.
Drive for show, putt for dough.
Yes, but when it comes down to the short game, I think he said inside 175 yards. I think he said.
Yep.
That's where it's
challenge
inside 150. Jordan, you're a golfer, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, so get this.
Great driver, I heard.
The morning, awesome. The morning foursomes this morning, or let's see, what was it today? Friday morning, Rahm and Hatton, Hovland and Aberg, rookie Aberg, Shane Lowry, love him, Straka, Rory McIlroy, Fleetwood. Okay, they won. They swept 4-0. we played Scheffler and Burns, awful. Burns is awful. Homa and Harmon, awful. Ricky Fowler and Colin, I like Ricky, but awful. Xander Schauffele and Patrick Cantlay, they just got worked. Okay? Guess what? Foursomes again coming up Saturday morning. It's the same exact pairings on the Europe side. And guess what? Homa and Harmon, Cantlay, Schauffele. Scheffler's playing with Koepka like that. Spieth and Thomas are playing against each other or with each other. But, I mean, it's such a lack of adjustments.
Working against each other.
It's, okay, easy now. Easy now. Spieth carried the match for the first 12 holes today. And then Thomas, oh my goodness. Spieth fell off a cliff. He was awful in like the last 6 holes. And Thomas was legendary, but he couldn't hold off Hovland and Hatton. We're going to get drummed. Ryder Cup's over. The Ryder Cup is over.
You still staying up tonight to watch it?
Yes, I will.
Okay.
I will go home after this. I will get something to eat. Get something to drink.
Sleep.
Iced tea. Yep.
No Honor Plumbers?
No. I'm a tea guy. Go to sleep. Wake up. Ryder Cup.
Not a bad schedule at all. See,
Because guess what? I have to get up in the morning at 6 a.m. to work at WP, Whispering Pines.
Mm-hmm.
Then after that, at 6 a.m. to 12, I come back from Trinity at 12, have to shower, dress, come back to KSAM for the Hornets, sting them. I mean, that's going to be a full day for me tomorrow. I'm going to be exhausted, but, it's worth it.
You can sleep in the car.
Dang.
You don't have to drive.
No.
For obvious reasons.
No, not obvious. Not obvious.
Let's not get
Into that for everyone's sake. But point being,
I mean, you just threw me under the bus. You threw me under the bus and then just ran over me and backed up.
look, I get one of those a day.
He pretended
Okay.
to call for help, but then just drove off.
But
Never mind.
anyway, but
Ambulance, not for me. Wrong.
But
Wrong.
anyway, you'll get to sleep because we're going to be gracious to you on that
I
front.
appreciate that.
And Jordan, you're going to drive down tomorrow if I'm not mistaken, and then I'm driving back. So
Score prediction?
score predict for tomorrow?
Yeah.
I'm calling the game.
Come on. You're the
Curve
hometown.
straight.
You're the hometown caller. You can definitely. I'm the silent part. I'll give one.
Go ahead.
100-0.
Okay.
Hornets by 40.
50.
Hornets by 50.
That's
60.
yeah.
Hornets by 60. Hornets by 70. Hornets by 80.
I'm
Hornets
gonna
by
go.
90.
I'm gonna go.
Hornets by 100.
Would you
Maybe.
be quiet, please?
Carlos, this is a mistake.
I'm gonna go 45. 17.
That's reasonable. I think that's a reasonable score.
You're going to crush them.
Yeah.
They are awful.
Again, that game's tomorrow. 5:15 p.m. pregame, 6 o'clock kickoff, right here on KSAM's YouTube channel and on the FM airwaves on 101.7 KSAM. Myself, Brian Adams, the former Hornet quarterback, Luke Scott, our great sideline reporter. We will have the call for that ball game coming up tomorrow. I need a nap before we go to volleyball tonight. But anyway,
22 minutes.
I know.
Yes. Record breaking, right? That's record breaking.
It's close, I think. It's close. Me and Jordan had another one where we went like 2 hours and 30 minutes, I think.
Really, the first one.
Yeah, our first one went pretty long because we talked nothing but baseball that day.
Hold on.
But either way, thank you for watching. First off, Luke, Colin, I appreciate you guys jumping on. We appreciate you guys very much for what y'all do here at KSAM, and you guys do a great job with Behind the Mic. It's kind of really a true changing of the guard. We talked about changing of the guard today in baseball. It's a changing of the guard here. You guys have taken the show, like I said, with you on Wednesday, and you guys have made it your own.
Hey, that's all Colin. Colin does all the hard work. You got. I mean, shout out to Colin.
Absolutely.
Nah,
And
I can't do it without the good people around me.
there you go.
I pat your back, you pat mine.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's not just me; it's everybody in here. You know, y'all started the legacy, and me and Luke are carrying on that legacy.
And we love what y'all are doing with it, and it's fun to listen to. When it was me and Jordan, we could only do an hour, so we couldn't really expand on what we were doing on that front. And
We didn't have,
The ability to create hotkeys and all of this other stuff, create a soundboard for ourselves. We didn't have that.
yeah, we didn't have that stuff. So you guys have done a great job with it, and we're really proud of what y'all are doing, and we thank you for what y'all are doing, guys. You're going to get to know these guys if you haven't already quite a bit this year on the KSAM YouTube channel. Like I said earlier in the in the podcast, Luke's got the calls for Hornet boys basketball coming up later this year. Colin's got Lady Hornets basketball as well as Hornets baseball. I'll be back on softball this year. And Jordan will be behind the scenes as he always is. Maybe make a Phantom appearance every once in a while like he did last year. But,
Yay.
we'll see how it pans out this year. But we still got a lot of Hornet football to go through, lots of other stuff to talk about. And coming up next week on the KSAM Sports Podcast, it'll be, once again, me and Jordan here. But we'll talk, of course, we'll know by then what the field for the Major League postseason. We'll talk more about the NFL, obviously. And, of course, take a look at the Hornet and Bearcat games from next week and looking into the weeks going forward. So that'll do it for us. For Luke Scott, Colin Neal, and Jordan Smith, I'm Carlos Zimmerman. Thanks for tuning in on the KSAM Sports Podcast. And as we end every coach's show, let's give a big 1, 2, 3 Sting 'em Hornets on the count of 3 as we hopefully see a huge win coming up tomorrow. 1, 2, 3, gentlemen.
Sting 'em
Sting 'em
Hornets.
Hornets.
We'll see you next time. Good afternoon, good night, and have a pleasant tomorrow.